The City of Riverbank regular City Council and Local Redevelopment Authority Board meetings are now in session. Today is Tuesday, January 9th, 2018. It is 6 p.m. Please rise.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Please remain standing.
Let us pray. Heavenly Father, Jesus, creator of all things, we thank you for this wonderful, wonderful day that you've provided for us. We thank you, Heavenly Father, Jesus, for the many blessings that you bestowed upon this city. And we ask you tonight, Heavenly Father, Jesus, to give wisdom to this council as the decisions that they make would be made for each and every one of us. We ask, Heavenly Father, Jesus, that everyone that becomes involved, Heavenly Father, will come involved with, with an attitude of just being a peaceful solution to any problem that might be out there. We ask you, Heavenly Father, Jesus, to bless this great United States of America that you've given us. Be with each service person, each man and woman, Heavenly Father, wherever they're at tonight. Lift them up. Just be with them. Protect them. We ask that you be with our city. Protect each individual. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Please be seated. Roll call, please.
Council Authority Member Cal Campbell.
Here?
Council Authority Member District 4 Darlene Barber Martinez.
Here.
Council Authority Member District 2 Cindy Fossey.
Here.
Vice Mayor Chair Leanne Jones Cruz.
Here.
Mayor Chair Richard D. O'Brien.
Here. Changes tonight with council's concurrence. We will continue item 6.1. Conflict of interest. Any council or authority member or staff who has a direct conflict of interest on any scheduled agenda item to be considered is to declare their conflict at this time. Seeing none, we'll proceed to presentations. The administration of the oath of office to newly appointed planning commissioners. If I may have Mr. Dinan, Mr. Ball, and Ms. Hughes. Am I on? I think so. Am I on? The screen. It is my distinct pleasure to swear in our new planning commissioners and an alternate. So, if you will please raise your right hand and repeat after me. I state your name. Do solemnly swear that I will support and defend the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the State of California
Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the State of California
against all enemies, foreign and domestic.
against all enemies, foreign and domestic.
That I will bear true faith and allegiance to the Constitution of the United States
I will bear true faith and allegiance to the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of California.
and the Constitution of the State of California.
That I take this obligation freely
That I take this obligation freely
without any mental reservation
without any mental reservation
or purpose of evasion.
or purpose of evasion.
And that I will
And that I will
and faithfully
and faithfully
discharge the duties
discharge the duties
upon which I'm about to enter.
upon which I'm about to enter.
Thank you very much. Congratulations, congratulations, congratulations. I want to introduce Mr. Dinan, Mr. Ball, and Ms. Hughes as our new planning commissioners. We had a selection of 12 individuals vying for this position, and all of them were very qualified and very pleased to announce that we're moving along with people who truly want to help out the city. I want to thank Mr. McRitchie and Evelyn, are you here? And Evelyn for their participation, one on the Planning Commission and also on the Budget Advisory Committee. It's truly a great feeling that we have individuals such as you that are participating and you that are taking their place. So thank you very much. Oh, yes, you got to sign. I'm sorry. That's your job, Annabelle.
These are the certificates of appointment, you know, about this for their positions. And they will serve a 4-year term, and the alternate, she's the alternate, she will serve a 2-year term.
And all signatures there?
Yeah.
So we're legal. Thank you. Pardon? I know. Item 2, public comment. No action can be taken at this time. At this time, members of the public may comment on any item not appearing on the agenda within the subject matter jurisdiction of the City Council LRA Board. Individual comments will be limited to a maximum of 5 minutes per person, and each person may speak once during this time. Time cannot be yielded to another person. Under state law, matters presented during the public comment period cannot be discussed or acted upon. For record purposes, state your name and city of residence. Please make your comments directly to the City Council LRA Board. Do we have any public comment tonight? Seeing none, we'll move on to the consent calendar, consisting of item 3A, waive readings. That's our only consent item. Do I have any recommendations from the council?
I'll make a motion that we accept the consent calendar.
I second.
We have a motion to approve the consent calendar in a second.
Barbara Martinez,
Yes.
Campbell,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Chair Jones Cruz,
Yes.
Mayor Chair O'Brien.
Yes.
Motion passes 5-0.
Item 4.1, second reading by title only and adoption of proposed ordinance number 2018-001, approving development agreement number 01-2017 by and between the City of Riverbank and Paquifa Cooperative, Inc., a California cooperative corporation doing business as Flavors for their commercial cannabis dispensary.
Thank you, Mayor. As this is unfinished business, the staff report is unchanged, and the project as it was proposed at the last public hearing and the development agreement there's no substantive changes to that. So staff is here to answer questions that council may have, and then council has to hold a public hearing and decide on the matter. Thank you.
Are there any questions on the staff report? Seeing none, I open it for public comment on item 4.1.
Haskell Moore, Patterson Road, Riverbank. I wanted to mention to you again that the karate school backside of where you want this cannabis shop at is not 600 feet from the school, and that should be treated just like an educational school. I walked in the back of this place the last time these folks were here. They had about 15 children out here. Back there looked like an 8th grade graduation class. That's a kid karate school. Not just for kids maybe, but most of the time it's kids. That should be treated just like a school. And they're bordering each other back to back with a fence between them. This isn't right. Something else I've learned since I've seen you folks last is that there's cannabis shops in Colorado and other states that this is legalized in. When they get hit by robbers, the robbers don't come in the cannabis shop and rob the shop. They rob the truck that delivers it. They're watching. You can change the time you deliver, play secretly all you want, but there's people watching you watch them. And when they come and rob a cannabis shop delivery truck, by the time the police get there, or the SWAT, they're gone. And they injure a lot of people in doing this. And both locations talking about doing this in Riverbank is too populated with residents. Thank you.
Any further comments?
Good evening, Council. My name's Annabelle Gammon, Riverbank, California. Your microphone. Oh, sorry. Sorry. I come before you tonight. First of all, I sent the letter to Annabelle, so this should be in your pamphlet, but I wanted the public to hear because I don't know if they're going to get the copy of this. Are they?
Yes, all comments were distributed to the city council.
But to the public? No?
Not
I'll
to the
read
public.
this. I come before you tonight stating my strong opposition to the second reading by title only and adoption of proposed ordinance number 2018-001, approving development agreement number 1, 2017 by and between the City of Riverbank and Pacific Corporation, Inc., a California cooperative corporation doing business as Flavors for a commercial cannabis dispensary. On the strategic goals, which is in the agenda, you state that it is consistent with the established general plan goal to achieve and maintain financial stability and sustainability as part of the city's vision to be recognized as a premier community where individuals, families, and businesses thrive in a safe and beautiful environment. Really safe and beautiful? I think not. On November 29, pursuant to the Government Codes 6587, the city mailed notice of the hearing to properties within 300 feet of the project location. Please clarify to me now, because I have mentioned this in the Planning Commission and I wasn't heard. The attorney that was sitting there just said, "You're wrong," or ignored. And so I am stating my discomfort that when public comes and has a question about some of the things that are on the agenda, you need to answer. In your website, I went to the cannabis part where you have the application to the cannabis folks. So I printed it. I showed this to the lawyer. And it's a checklist. I forwarded this to Annabelle. I really don't have my copy here. Do you have it, Annabelle? There are 4 pages to this. Can I have it? The first step is step 1 is the checklist. Step 2 is the submittal checklist, all the application details, and the 4th page says something about the noticing. Can I borrow it? It reads, and this is dated September 2017. The City of Riverbank requires that all projects scheduled for public hearings by the Planning Commission and/or City Council include a list of the current property owners within 300 feet from the perimeter of the project site. However, if the number of parcels is fewer than 30, the radius for notice shall be increased until a minimum of 30 parcels or a maximum of 1,000 feet is attained. The list shall include the property owner's name, mailing address, and their assessors. Well, I did call a title company to make a search for me. And your planning director, Ms. Danny, gave me a list after having to ask her. It should really be in the packet of the 13 houses that was noticed. So I said, you need to go further than that. And she said, no. So I did call Sirius. I called other cities. And then I found this in your website. So I have a list of the radius to 600 feet. And a lot of the residences that did not receive.
30 seconds.
You're timing me.
Yes, I am.
Okay, another point, because I can stop right now, is when I timed all of the speakers when I speak, and you give them more than the 5 minutes when you expect. So this is really a shame how you treat the public. And the discrepancy of how you treat the public and the applicants in this regard is just unbelievably unacceptable. Thank you.
Hello, City Council. My name is Jennifer Miyakawa. I am a mother of 3 teenagers and a trustee in the Sylvan Union School District, a district which includes 850 plus kids attending Crossroads Elementary School, and a large proportion of the 1,000 Ustack Middle School students who reside in this community. I'm also president, lost my mic. Is it on? Okay. I'm also president of the Riverbank Congregations Relief Society, one of the largest women's organizations in the world. It is as a concerned representative of all three of these groups that I address you tonight, having learned only an hour and a half ago on our neighborhood app, and I want to thank whoever was responsible for making us aware of this meeting tonight. And so just cobbled together a few thoughts. Riverbank and its neighboring Crossroads development has long been a magnet for young families, known for its safe neighborhoods, its beautiful and accessible parks, and its small town warmth. Our family has lived here since 2004, the longest I've ever lived anywhere. We enjoy bike riding in our neighborhood to the local businesses and downtown to the library and the public pool. I feel confident and safe letting my kids venture where they will. And after all the work that has gone into and continues to go into the development of this safe, family-friendly city, the last thing we need is a marijuana dispensary. I fight hard every day to keep my kids focused on making smart, safe, future-minded decisions. And I do the same for the students in our school district. Kids and young teens are most at risk, and we have to decide now that Riverbank is going to be a sanctuary city of sorts. A city where kids are safe to roam and grow in a drug-free atmosphere. A place where our whole mission is to produce talented, educated, hardworking young adults who will grow up to make a positive difference in this often troubled world we live in. We cannot do that effectively if we are sending mixed messages, warning kids about the dangers of drugs and then selling them at the corner market. Ironically and most inappropriately named Friends and Family Association, Inc. I urge you to both reject the appeal made tonight to allow a cannabis dispensary in our town and to go a step further and make a resolution to make Riverbank a sanctuary city for families by keeping it a drug-free city at every level. Thank you.
Good evening. I own a property within 300 feet of this process distribution center that they've been trying to put in business. Excuse me? My name is Gonzalo Velasco, and I own the property here on 3200 Santa Fe Street.
Mayor, flavors.
On Patterson Road.
Yeah. Mayor, actually, the last comment I think was also directed towards the appeal, which is the next one.
So this is not for the marijuana dispensary?
It is, but not at the location you're discussing.
No, this is here.
Correct.
Yes.
But that one's the next item up, so it'll just be after this current.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, okay.
So if you
So
want to
wait.
hold that public
Hold
comment
that-
for
hold
that
that thought.
one.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello, my name is Daryl Daniel, 3442 Atchison Street, Riverbank. And I think for maybe even for the public is on this is to know is how many is going to be here. I've heard of I don't know like which one this one is precisely talking about, but I know that there's one across from Del Rio, maybe downtown, and also the old cannery. So, or something else similar is going there where the cannery used to be. So, if you could a little bit explain of which ones of which locations, or even how many locations is of this canopy would be here. That'd be awesome.
Any further public comment?
My name is Arthur Hidalgo. I'm a resident of the city of Riverbank. Council member, I'd like to give you guys some letters. from one of our business owners here. Last time I was here, I apologize. I kind of attacked the O'Brien Market, thanks to our lovely mayor, Richard O'Brien. So I went out and I talked to everybody in my neighborhood. I got a hold of Bill O'Brien. This is a letter from Bill O'Brien. And I just want to read it to everybody so everybody can hear. The headline on it is, O'Brien's Market, the best. January 9th, 2018. Riverbank City Council, please include my written comments into public comments for the public hearing on January 9th, 2017, but it should be 18. Item 4.1. Please vote on this location for a cannabis dispensary or please vote no on this location for a cannabis dispensary located on Patterson Road in Riverbank. Locating a cannabis dispensary in the commercial zone within city limits does not seem to be in the citizens of Riverbank's best interest. As a Riverbank business owner, I am concerned about the impacts of the dispensary within the commercial zone. As many of you are very well and aware, issues with panhandlers and vagrants in the vicinity of Oakdale and Patterson Road are becoming more frequent and more aggressive. I feel that locating this new use near our shopping center will only increase the issues. Other questionable types of businesses are restricted to light industry or heavy industrial zones, M1, M2, Chapter 154.03, Riverbank City Codes. I very well believe that the revenue that the city expects to raise off cannabis will eventually be split with other local agencies who provide cannabis regulatory duties. Who is going to fund additional resources from the Sheriff's Department, the District Attorney, the Public Defender, the County Jail, and recovery services for drug addiction? The bottom line is that the cash cow that Riverbank thinks is heading their way will eventually be taken away to a cash neutral position, thus leaving the impact on city residents with no upside to this decision. If you move forward and approve this location, please develop a plan with local law enforcement of how you are going to address the current issues as well as new issues that will arise, as I will not sit by silently any longer. If having a dispensary in our city is so important to you, please designate these into light industrial or heavy industrial zoning, M1, M2. Areas of our city where their existence would not be so prominent. Sincerely, William O'Brien, O'Brien's Market. I don't think this is a good thing. Once again, I apologize to the O'Brien family, but I do not apologize to you, Mr. Mayor. I still do not agree with you. I do not stand next to you. And I just ask that all of you in our council, please, please think heavy and long about what you guys are doing to this poor city of Riverbank.
Any further public comment?
Hi, my name is Leticia Lopez Hidalgo, and I'm a resident here in Riverbank. I lived here for over 30 years. I was here at the last meeting and expressed my concern over the dispensaries in our neighborhood. And again, I just want to state, as a mother and as a resident here, I do not agree with this proposed plan. And there's been a couple articles in the paper lately since this January 1st and the law came in place where marijuana is considered legal. There's issues with banks not wanting to deal with the pot industries. As you mentioned yourselves, that the industry here, everyone will be dealing with cash. There's been robberies associated with the cash dealings with these businesses only. If the banks show concern, why are we taking this so lightly as residents and as council members? There's also lots of crowds gathering at these dispensaries. People are being bussed in to certain areas where the cannabis is being sold for recreational purposes. We have people from other states coming into California because their states do not agree with the marijuana being in their community. And, why are other states not agreeing with allowing the high use of marijuana into their communities? Maybe they are concerned and thought before allowing it easily and available to everyone for recreational purposes and not just for medicinal purposes. So do we really want to be known not only as California being so quick to approve this use, and also in such a small community as Riverbank to allow this in our community, in our backyards here? Every business here makes a difference in our community. Every dollar that comes in, and I know that's the concern, is the money that's going to be coming in because of the sales. But again, is this the kind of money we want? And then the last article that I have here is regarding a wife of a California Highway Patrol who the husband was killed on Christmas Eve by a driver who was under the influence of marijuana. And the article goes to explain how the mother allowed the kids, four children, to open up their gifts on Christmas Day before telling them that their father had been killed. Now, how do you think the mother feels, and how would we feel as parents, citizens in this community, if we were responsible for allowing it and voting for such a measure in the use in our community, and that it costs the death of a valuable person? And any person is valuable. All life is valuable. A member of the law enforcement community who was here to protect and serve others was killed by somebody using this. And you as council members are public servants and also have that trust in us, the community members, that you will make the right decisions for everybody here. The question I think we all need to ask ourselves is, what is more important, the money that's going to be generated or the value of somebody's life? And I ask you to take all that into consideration. Thank you.
Thank you. Any further public comment? Seeing none, I close you kind of speak? Come on up.
I'm Julie Hutchings. I live in Modesto, but I own the building that's just immediately behind the proposed dispensary, literally a stone's throw. I was at the last meeting. I did discuss several of my concerns about having a dispensary that close to the children that my tenant has in his karate studio, literally a stone's throw away. I also brought up that I had gone by a dispensary here in town and had seen people loitering, smoking in the parking lot, lots and lots of garbage, and that I was very concerned that that very same thing might go on right near or around or on my property. A council member here, and I won't name names, literally implied that perhaps I was fabricating, that there was no, that she'd been to the dispensary and there was nobody laying on the lawn. There was no garbage. This is my eyewitness testimony. I saw it. So, didn't appreciate the implication there. And then, to my dismay, I discovered that the same corporation that owned the dispensary that I drove by owns the proposed dispensary. Now I did get a call, I believe he's here, Mr. Stetler. Did get a call from Devin Stetler, who is somehow, I'm not quite sure how, sorry, affiliated with Flavors and the whole dispensary thing. And he was really quite pleasant and has assured me that they're going to do their best to try to mitigate any kind of unfavorable circumstances. But if they couldn't do it at their other dispensary, how can they assure me that they're not going to have the same kind of issues at the dispensary that's a stone's throw away from those children and my business? I don't really quite understand how that's going to work. I have surveillance cameras all the way around my property. By the way, if anybody hears anything going on after this thing goes
Please
down.
address the council.
Okay. If there is any issues near or around that dispensary, it's most likely going to be caught on my surveillance cameras. So please feel free to contact me, and I'll pull the video. I'm seeing deliveries at 1 o'clock in the morning going into that office. Presumably, it didn't even dawn on me why until the first gentleman that was speaking said, they rob the delivery trucks. Oh, okay, well, that's why they're having to do their deliveries in the middle of the night. I get it. Anyway, once again, I'm going to implore you to consider an alternative location. I realize it's legal in California now, but I don't think that the location is appropriate. And I would ask for you to consider an alternative location. And I appreciate your time tonight. Thank you.
Any further public comment?
Good evening, Mayor, members of the council. My name is Devin Stetler. I'm a co-owner of the proposed Flavors Dispensary. This is emotional this evening. I'm feeling a lot of the concern from the community, and I share many of these concerns. And an important distinction to make here is the topic is not whether we want cannabis here or not. The topic, it's already here. What's important here is whether we want a regulated, revenue-generating, controlled environment for that cannabis that's already here. And so I'd like to hope to reveal what's being overlooked or missed here, that this is actually going to be a device to control and create the safety that is being asked for by the community here. Create the safety for the kids, create the beautiful environment and city that we feel that Riverbank is, that we're proud of. And this dispensary is in line with all of those values, I assure you. I want to, I made a little thing for the board here, but I'll just verbally describe the consequences of having no dispensary versus having a dispensary. No dispensary, basically just turning a blind eye and doing nothing. We'll have no control, no regulation. And Eagle 20 and other toxic chemicals can be on this, and there won't be any testing to know that it is. It creates a market for illegal dealers who are soliciting other things to our kids as well. Because not having the store would create there's no competition for them, so of course they would come here and take advantage of that. There's zero tracking and traceability. There's no tax dollars from the store, and there's no state dollars either, to which will come with the presence of a dispensary here. And maybe most frightening is that Governor Brown will decide the local policies, not us. On the other hand, with the dispensary, taking a proactive and responsible approach, we have control, we have the regulation. You can pull the permit if anything goes south. The product is tested and safely packaged, so even if it does end up in a child's hands, at least it's a quality, clean, tested product. I mean, that's still a leg up. Let's be honest.
He has every right to speak like everybody else did. Quiet, please.
Thank you. It's not profitable for black market dealers because they can't compete with the store that's doing it legally down the street. They go somewhere else. We've already seen this happen with Prohibition. There are no moonshiners anymore. There'll be less contact with our children because it will be in a controlled facility where they're not allowed, as opposed to letting illegal dealers do as they will and end up in our schools, which is happening today. We'll have seed to sale tracking, a direct tax revenue from the store. Our series location is estimated annual revenue is $500,000 to the city, $500,000 in a year. That's a lot of dollars we can use to address other concerns like law enforcement that were brought up. This will absolutely help to fund that. We'll receive the state dollars for enacting our own responsible plan, and best of all, we'll be making the decisions, not Governor Brown. So we have a free-for-all situation or a responsible community-controlled situation. I am here advocating for the latter, and I believe this will help this community in a good way. Otherwise, I wouldn't be here. And I will tack on that the majority of the country has legalized cannabis in one form or another, and in almost every case, the governors, senators, mayors, they've expanded their programs. They've expanded on the program. They haven't taken it away. They haven't pulled those permits. This is a clear indication that having a dispensary is a better solution than not having one. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Any further public comment?
Good evening, Mayor, members of the council. Mike Ward, I represent the applicant. I want to make it clear. That there is no other dispensary that's being operated that was referred to by the applicant or anybody that's affiliated with the applicant. And I'm not sure what the member of the public was referring to when she talked about midnight deliveries or 1:30 in the morning deliveries. The building's empty. There's been some construction that's gone on, cleanup, and that's about it. So I just wanted to make that clear for the record. Thank you.
Any further public comment? Okay, I bring it back to the council. I close public comment. All last year, we wrestled with this problem, this issue. We started in February, went very heavy in April, June, where we talked about commercially cultivation, retail sales, and in August, we started our public hearings, and we approved it. So, Mr. Moore, you asked, oh no, not Mr. Daniels, you asked, what are we offering? In our discussions, what we did, we looked at outside the city. What's affecting us? We have many illegal grows right outside the city limits. They're supplying contaminated marijuana to residents of Riverbank. Okay, big deal, let them die. There's 3,800 of your residents using marijuana each year, and they're getting it from dealers, pushers. They have associated, mainly family members, that are bringing it into schools. Ma'am, you talked about the schools. I know in USTAC there are some users. I have grandchildren there, and they've told me about them. In Riverbank, I deal with the juniors going to be seniors, and there's something called senior leadership, and it goes through the Veterans Association. And every individual I talked to, when I said, what is your biggest concern, is the drug use in Riverbank High School. One says it's 40%, others say it's 60, 70% are using it. Not on just an individual one-time basis, but on multiple occasions. Health and Human Services says where your use in this area for alcohol is 17% for children 12 years old through 17. But it's 38% from 12 years old through 17. So we took a look at that. What can we do? Okay, and there is some money that may be available, but let's discard that. What can we do? It's the pushers, the dealers that are bringing it into the city and bringing it into your schools and bringing it into your communities, selling in your neighborhood. I know a couple of people that are in Snob Hill that are growing it themselves. Every house here now can grow their own. You understand that? Every household can grow up to 6 plants at a time. That's the law. We're regulating that, but that's the law. We can't stop it. That's the law. So we're trying to deal within the law, the legal framework. What can we control? What can we not control? Colorado, 4-year experiment, people saying it's failing. 27% of the cannabis use is now through the black market, where 4 years ago was 100%. It's whittling it down each year. 2 years ago, Washington and Oregon, which was about 50% now, illegal. Right now in Riverbank, it's 100% illegal. So you're getting the contaminated. Now, is that saying, okay, well, let's get the good stuff and give it to our kids? No, we're not advocating that. What we're trying to do is try to get the illegal stuff out of our city. Why is that important? Just last year, 2017, over 2016, we had a 7% increase in police calls. No increase in police. 24% increase in arrests. Of those number of arrests, which was 590, 38% was drugs. Only one cannabis. Only one cannabis out of the 222 arrests for drugs. Only one cannabis. Why is that? Cannabis is now accepted. You see the commercials. I don't like them, but they say, well, yeah, I use it because, you know, it makes me feel good. One guy, yeah, I get high on it. Those are your commercials by your state. So it's being glorified, unfortunately. So we've been wrestling with this now for the entire year. Not in my backyard is what I hear sometimes. Put it elsewhere. But it's a retail establishment in an area where retail is prominent. We looked at it very carefully. We looked at, that's one. There's another applicant for downtown here. In the hotel that was, if you guys remember, it was the crack hotel. With the crackheads and the babies in diapers just walking around. You remember that, Ms. Bordona? Okay, so this is trying to change some of the concepts of if we can take away just a little bit each year from the pushers, from the dealers, and try bringing it, not, I don't care, it's not going to be respectful to me, but it's going to be safer for the community. Now, I believe what the gentleman was trying to say about the cannabis being safer. Well, it's still cannabis. It's not contaminated. But the good thing about it is that by the end of this year, everything sold in a dispensary will have a lot number and it'll have a SKU. So if a child from USTAC has this illegal stuff, has the stuff, it can be traced back to what dispensary sold it, go back to the dispensary, you can find out when they sold it, and if they have the tapes available, you can see who sold it. So that was very important to us. We're not making this lightly. We're not doing it because of funding. But let's say we do have a cash cow, which we won't. It's all going to go for a security fund. The priorities are increasing the police force. We're down 7 police officers, over 30% down in our police officers. That's important to us. We also need a code enforcement officer to help with the codes for those who are applying for cannabis grows in their house. That's very important to us. And it's also to develop a liaison between the police officers and the schools on how we can deal with the issues on drugs. By the time they get to the schools, it's not going to be just marijuana. A lot of it is crack cocaine. Now, that's what, okay, I think I finished what I wanted to say. 100% of the proceeds are going to go into a safety fund, and the priorities are police officers, because they're not getting any help. We have, as I said, 590 arrests. That takes a lot of man-hours. We had over 1,500 calls for service. They're doing a fantastic job. 15,000, I'm sorry, I missed the zero. Sorry, I missed it by a zero. 15,000 calls. And yet there's only 17, 18 17 officers plus a chief, where we should have 24 officers plus the chief. So what else are the police officers doing that we need to help them? They are going after warranted criminals, those who have a warrant. And they're going over, getting them, picking them up, so Riverbank won't be a safe haven for people can hide from the laws from other parts of the county and the state. Now, yes, there's going to be issues as we are growing with the marijuana. But one thing about this business, unlike any other business, if there's a misstep, it gets pulled. There's no, well, I'm sorry, we didn't know about that. It doesn't matter, it gets pulled. Okay? No other business would operate under the stringency that we are imposing upon these individuals. Okay, that's just the highlight of the last year. It is frustrating. I've had conversations over and over and over, and I'm sure everybody else has up here. If you want to talk, you can go outside. But we've had conversations throughout. Last week I had a conversation with 5 individuals at the Chinese restaurant, all angry after talking. They understand, and it's as it is a pilot program. Now, in the future, if these are not appropriate places, I will reopen discussions with the public on what is appropriate, where it's appropriate. If I need to, I will transfer, with the assistance of the city, the dispensaries that we approve. But I need the inputs. We need the inputs. Putting it here at the end as we're going through the approval process is a little difficult to handle. So with that, I'd open it up to the council for any further comments, recommendations.
I just had a couple things. I know we've said a lot of this before, but I just want to make one thing perfectly clear. We didn't make this law, but we are taxed with how do we deal with it in our city. And again, I want to share with you that this isn't easy to do. If you think it is, you're gravely mistaken. I do feel 100% confident with how I'm going to vote tonight because of all the time and energy I've spent researching this and sitting in these workshops. So I too feel a lot of frustration that you hear in the mayor's voice tonight, that where were you when we started this whole process? Where were you when we were being educated and brought with all of the information? Yes, some of you are here, but a lot of you needed to hear a lot of this a long time ago. And that part is very frustrating. I feel really strongly that if we don't do anything, it will be worse. If we don't have any legal if we don't have any legal grounds to stand on or any ordinances in place, then how can we ask the chief to go in and take care of something if we don't have any ordinances in place for this? I think that's one thing that a lot of folks are hearing, and it's very emotional tonight. And I promise I won't get emotional tonight, but I feel really strongly that if we don't take care of this and have things put in place that we can say, hey, you stepped out of line, there's garbage on the lawn, there's something on your lawn, you're out of business. If we don't have that in place, this isn't like any other business that's going on in town. If we don't have these things in place, they can do anything they want. And I think that that's one thing that you're missing. The big picture here is that if we don't have things in place, it will be worse. You can agree with me or disagree with me, and then that's all right, that's your opinion. But I'm just asking you to be respectful of other people's opinions too. Okay, everybody can think what they want. I am very respectful of all of yours, and I'm just asking that you respect mine too. I'm very respectful of yours. I was asked today about property values, and I had a great conversation with my friend in the audience, and I share some of those concerns, and I don't have a definite answer for you, but I do have 2 thoughts. And one, anything happening, and this is the next item. I'll save it for the next one. I forgot we have two items. The last one on this one, I'm really thankful that the state left this up to local control. We would be in a whole nother boat if the state did not say the local control can make. We would be left up to someone else making decisions for us. And you need to feel really, really proud of everyone up here for all the timing and energy that they've spent trying to get to where we are now. I feel really proud to be part of them. And I just have to say, I'm really thankful that the state allowed it to be local control. Yeah, this was really hard. If you think I ever thought I would be an elected official up here making this kind of a decision, I never would have thought I'd been here doing that. It's been very hard.
I'm Cal Campbell. I've lived in the area since 1962, graduate of Oakdale High, grew up in the 60s when it all began, or really began very heavy. I've watched it. I don't use the stuff, but I have friends that use it. Went to college in this area, was a teacher in the area for 35 years in Riverbank and Oakdale. I've lived in Riverbank for 30 plus years. I live just a couple of blocks from where the dispensary is going to be. My dog and I take a walk by it, usually every other day. And you'll see me doing that because I'm only 5 minutes away from it. So I guarantee you my eye will be on it. I don't like this any more than the mayor and the rest of our council does. But something I want to clarify, there was a statement here about making this a drug-free city. We can't do that. We can't pass an ordinance for that because the state of California says it is legal for you to smoke marijuana in your houses and grow up to 6 plants if you do the proper procedures with your city. So it's there, it's here. We can't get rid of that. You have to understand that. I realize the negativism when you hear that word marijuana, but you have to open your minds a little bit because the world is changing. And personally, the mayor mentioned about bad marijuana, and it is out there. If any of you have watched the news, recently up in Yolo County, just past Sacramento, the whole county declared a state of disaster. They have over 100 illegal growing areas in the hills, and they're tainting the marijuana with illegal fertilizer, illegal pesticides, and then they're selling it on the black market, and this is making people sick and killing them. The supervisors of Yolo County last week called it a state emergency, asked the federal government for more help. They don't have enough policemen and people to police it for the county. So I don't want to see something like that happen in our area, our town, or even in this county. Likewise, locations, we approved 2 locations after debating back and forth. We started out at 0, we went to 1, we ended up with 2 for various reasons. But we discussed it at several meetings, which the public was invited to. We had a little, yes. And likewise, I think we need to look too at the business. I do not like discrimination or stereotyping of any type. I've heard several comments made, but yet at the same time, I can only, just as certain people have said they saw such and such, when I visited these dispensaries, I did not see that. I saw a quality business inside, I saw good security, and I saw quality products because I looked at lab reports. And we are very concerned about that for the reasons that have already been stated. Children's safety, they're not going to let the children in because if they do, they get caught, they are immediately out of town. And they have a guard outside that takes and looks at their identification. Then he calls the guy inside. That guy unlocks the door, lets that person in, and then looks at it again. And then the door is locked again. They're regulating how many people can come in there at a time. Now, we do have a problem already in that area, and I don't want them blamed for it, with some of the residents of this community that are in halfway houses in certain other areas hanging around O'Brien's Market, Cruisers, etc. But you cannot put that on the back of this particular business. It hasn't even opened yet. And we are aware of that, and I mentioned to our city manager that we must try more remedies to make sure that this doesn't affect these people and they get cited illegally for something that they're not really causing, because it's happening down in that area at times already. So we'll watch that. But as far as the business goes, I've got a question for you. We take away the dispensaries. Is that going to make the marijuana go away? They can put it right across the county line in San Joaquin County on the other side of the bridge. They could put it right across our city line in across Clarabelle. And guess what? It'll be right down our throat. And we don't get a penny for public safety at all from it. And when you're mentioning about sites, Riverbank's a small town. This is a business that wants a quality location and to be a quality business. They pick their location and it fits the zoning. But to say, well, and just already make up your mind about, well, they can't do this because of what we've seen in the past. I don't think that's 100% fair to them, and I think you're stereotyping the business. We have an ironclad agreement with them that if they break any kind of rules at all, we will break the agreement and it'll go. This is a pilot program that we're doing. Are we 100% sure it's going to work? No. But the big picture is not just one area. We're looking at the entire city and what we can do to protect the entire city by putting these funds more into safety, as the mayor said, by getting more police officers because we're down already. And that's the only thing that we're going to do with the money. I guarantee you, we're not putting it in our pocket. They won't let us. So I want you to think about all those things. Children's safety, I taught school, all age levels for 35 years. Children's safety is very important to me. But I've seen the illegal be more of a hazard than the legal in situations like this. So I would ask you to be a little more objective and have an open mind. We don't have a lot of areas that fit the requirements in this town that are a good commercial area for some of these shops to set up. We didn't pick it. The person that wanted it picked it and then came to the planning commission. It fits the zoning and whatnot. But again, I think we have to be non-discriminatory and at least give them a chance. If it doesn't work, we have an ironclad agreement that we can get rid of them if they can't do what they chose. If there's too many problems with it and they can't do what they said, I will guarantee you that we will eliminate them and try something different.
I don't really have any additional comments from what I said at our last meeting. To me, the biggest thing is I would have liked to seen all of you when we were going through this, through the workshops. Like I said last time, I voted no for dispensaries, but I didn't have the backing because we didn't have the support out there, and the citizens telling us no. It's here now. It's not going anywhere. We need to regulate it. That's what we're doing. Thank you.
Sorry, I don't know how long I can talk, but I'll do my best without coughing. Sorry, I have bronchitis. So I really don't have, excuse me, anything else additional to say either. I just feel that this is a viable business. We do want to make sure that when the business does come to Riverbank, that they have everything in place, all of the planning, all of their the development agreement that we actually prepared ourselves to have them to be a part of our city. They have gone through and met every agreement that we have asked for. And so, and with having all the security that is going to be there, and again, you've already heard that if anything, if we feel like they're not meeting the agreement, if for some reason there's something that happens that we feel like they're not working or providing the business that we think should be here in Riverbank, we have the opportunity in that agreement to close them down. Thank you.
With that, I call for a recommendation and or consideration of item 4.1.
I'd like to make a motion that we accept the second reading as stated in item 4.1.
I'll second it.
We have a motion to approve and a second on item 4.1.
Council members Fossey,
Yes.
Barbara Martinez,
Yes.
Campbell,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Jones Cruz,
Yes.
Mayor O'Brien.
Yes.
Motion passes 5-0.
Item 4.2, second reading by title only and adoption of proposed ordinance number 2018-002 for zoning ordinance, amendment number 01-2016, approving rezoning of 9.1 plus or minus acres of planned development located at 6272 Central Avenue, APN 062-021-008, a project known as River Run.
Thank you, Mayor. This is also under unfinished business, and this will be a second reading of the ordinance. As I mentioned And during the last item, the project design and staff report remain unchanged. There've been no changes or updates to the plan as it stands today. I did get a couple questions in between the last hearing and this hearing about the water issue that was brought up by the resident who lives adjacent to this project. It is our opinion from a staff perspective that the improvements to the storm drain in this area that the developer has committed to will improve the situation on her property. To what degree, it's very difficult to tell, but without knowing what's under her ground there. But we have looked at that. We are sensitive to it, and we're going to continue to work with her as that moves forward. And I'm happy to answer any questions.
Thank you. I open up to the public to comment on item 4.2. Seeing no public comment, I close public comment, bring it back to the council for consideration and or recommendation.
I make a motion, we accept the second reading for item 4.2.
I second.
A motion to approve and a second on item 4.2.
Council members Fosse,
Yes.
Barbara Martinez,
Yes.
Campbell,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Jones Cruz,
Yes.
Mayor O'Brien.
Yes.
Motion passes 5-0.
Item 5.1, public hearing. Public hearing to appeal the Planning Commission denial of a conditional use permit 05-2017 request by Friends and Family Association, Inc., doing business as Riverbank Cannabis Collective, and adopt a resolution approving an appeal request and a conditional use permit 05-2017 for Friends and Family Associations, a California corporation doing business as Riverbank Cannabis Collective, to allow as a commercial cannabis dispensary to be located at 6609 3rd Street, APN 132-011-019, or adopt a resolution denying an appeal request and a conditional use permit for number 05-2017 for Friends and Family Association, Inc., a California corporation doing business as Riverbank Cannabis Collective, to allow a commercial cannabis dispensary to be located at 6609 3rd Avenue, APN 132-011-09.
Thank you, Mayor. Donna Kenny, our Planning and Building Manager, will be giving this report this evening, but before I toss it to her, I want to, just a point of order. This is a two-step item. The decision of the first step will impact whether or not you need to make a decision on the second step. So to be more clear about that, you are considering an appeal request by the applicant of the Planning Commission denial of the conditional use permit. In order to get a development agreement for a dispensary in Riverbank, our code states that you must also have, the DA states that you must also have a use permit. So just so it's clear for the public and the council, if the council does not approve the use permit, it does not matter whether or not the development agreement is approved, because you can't have one without the other. We're going to split the presentation tonight because they're sort of linked items, but we want to make sure we hold the public hearings correctly. So Donna's going to walk you through the use permit component of this and pause her presentation. You can have your public hearing, and if necessary, she'll continue her presentation for the development agreement portion. Take it away, Donna.
Good evening, Mayor and Council members. As stated, this is the appeal of a denial of conditional use permit 2005-2017. So the location of the proposed dispensary, which is in the Riverbank Hotel, it's the general plan designation is mixed use. Mixed use accommodates neighborhood scale retail uses, offices, personal and commercial services, and similar land uses. The downtown specific plan zoning is downtown core, which accommodates specialty retail. A pharmacy was specifically mentioned in there, and personal and business services that generate significant foot traffic. Here's an aerial of the site. The site is located underneath that green star. Here's a site plan of the site. Off to your left is the rear of the building, and there's parking there available for handicap and for employees. And you can see street parking in front. There's an alley off to one side, and open property and the Cornerstone Bakery to the other side. Here's our floor plan concept. It starts with, off to your right, there's a door that enters into an alcove area. There are some therapy rooms up front provided for light therapy, color therapy, and massage for the patients of this group. There's their sales floor and then several offices and storage areas. I should mention this is the downstairs portion of the building. The upstairs is remaining vacant at this point in time. If the dispensary does well there and decides to use the upstairs, the landlord is open to office spaces for them. If they decide that a different use will be going in the upstairs, that gets a little bit more expensive for the landlord because then they have to put in an elevator. As far as parking goes, this use is considered Main Street retail and requires 2 parking spaces for every 1,000 square foot of gross floor area. Our downtown specific plan identifies short-term parking as 0 to 2 hours and allows that to be shared among numerous businesses downtown. In just taking a quick look at the parking that surrounds the site, we have 6 plus a handicap and vendor parking in the rear. In the parking lot directly across the street, there are 20 spaces plus a handicap space. On both sides of 3rd Street in front of the building, there are 12 plus 1 handicap space. And there's also a handicap spot right next to City Hall South that could be utilized by the business. As far as security goes, they have Tier 1 Concepts security consultant. The gentleman running it is a Navy SEAL and also has police officer experience. There will be video surveillance on the site and signage to note that accordingly. So the conditional use permit regulates the site. It does require live scans. It provides for hours of construction for when they work inside the building. It determines exterior lighting conditions, so while they need light for security, we don't want it so bright that it affects the neighborhood. And there's a hold harmless agreement in there as well. Environmentally, there is no expansion of the building whatsoever, so this will not have a significant effect on the environment. And any use permit concerning the regulation of cannabis activity should be consistent with the general plan. And we believe our city should be safe and healthy for all our residents for many of the reasons that the mayor noted previously. So the recommendation is to adopt a resolution approving the appeal request or adopt the resolution denying the appeal request. The applicants are here today and would like to do a presentation as well as your public hearing. I'd be happy to answer any questions if you'd like, or we could save that for later. Yes?
I have just one. You mentioned massage.
Yes.
What in depth massage are they going to need massage license to them?
Well, the dispensary itself will have its own business license. And then the folks who do the massage therapy, color therapy, and such, they all have their own businesses off-site, and they come here and they would do this for free to let folks know that there are other options out there that maybe their insurance wouldn't pay for, but this would give them a chance to see if that kind of therapy would work for them. And each of those, my understanding is, are independent contractors and would all have their own business licenses.
Advertising their service if it works for them so they can go to it.
Yes.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Do we want the presentation now for the? I don't think it's necessary right now.
That's up to you, Mayor. I just, okay.
You're welcome.
This is a public hearing. Do everyone from the public wishing to speak?
Yes, my name is Gonzalo Velasco, and I own a property within 300 feet of this proposed location. And I've been listening to this. This is my first time on anything like this ever in my life, and I'm amazed that nobody has even mentioned once, how do we keep this from getting bigger than what it is? Nobody has talked about prevention, about education, about lowering the consumption of drugs and alcohol and marijuana in our community. We're dumbing down America as it is. We know that marijuana lowers the IQ of people, and yet we are just promoting the use and abuse of these drugs by just giving them more options to get these drugs on their hands instead of attacking and educating people and taking care of all the illegal ways that they can get all these drugs. Our kids in schools, yes, are getting exposed to marijuana consumption, and they're being pushed by our media and our society, but yet we do nothing about it. We don't talk about it. We just say, oh, we know we have 48 illegal places where they can get marijuana. Let's get a bigger one now. So now it's gonna be the equivalent to 68. Why not talk about how we prevent this from getting bigger? I have 4 kids, and they are all adults now. And I had to take my 2 youngest ones to Mexico because I felt it was safer to raise them down there than in the school system here in the United States. So I moved them when they were adolescents to go to high school down there because of the environment on those schools here. But yet, I don't hear anybody talking about it. And this is really amazing. This is a great country. I'm an immigrant, and yet we are being just taken down ourselves by our own addictions, and nobody's talking anything about this. Yes, I agree that marijuana has a lot of medical uses, a lot of good on the medicine side, but not smoking it. That addiction is an addiction, and that causes mental issues. Doesn't help our society, doesn't help our community. And the traffic that we generate by the drug users for recreational purposes is not the best traffic that we want to have in downtown. I'm all for let's promote, let's look for safe uses of marijuana products for medicine, for things that can help us, but not to make our society more stupid or dumbed down. And this is appealing, and it's just amazing. It's been an eye opener for me. I had prepared a statement, but I'm not even going to read it because I feel that you guys already made up your minds that you're going to vote yes. So it doesn't make a difference for what I have to say about this, but I just wanted to mention this. Thank you very much.
Haskell Moore, Stanislaus Street, 3200 block, Riverbank. The Planning Commission last week voted 4 no and 1 yes on this item in this area. I don't think you guys recognize the Planning Commission enough or respect them enough, because otherwise I think that something would have changed or happened between then and now. Maybe we should put the Planning Commission as council member and mayor, huh? Okay. You say that that you're going to push the little guy out. Not at $10 a bag. I've learned this here at a meeting before. Well, these guys are $80 a bag or something like this, right? So you're not going to change that. Kids aren't dying in school, and people aren't dying from illegal pot because it's got herbicides on it, which I agree they shouldn't have that on it. But they're dying because the marijuana is laced with heroin, LSD, you name it, and it's in there. And they'll put it in at somebody will to get someone hooked, so they'll be hooked and do their robbing them and stealing for them forever. So that's kind of off the table. I had a bad experience about 6 months ago. I was in a McDonald's or something on the north end of Modesto over there, and I had to use the bathroom really bad, so I pulled in this place, and I went in. I go into the men's room. I'm the only one there. All of a sudden, the door blasts open, and somebody's screaming and hollering. And I thought, "Whoa, this ain't good." I turn around. This guy's eyes about this big. He's jumping around like a chicken. Honest to God, flopping. And so I thought, "Whoa, we ain't gonna do this." So I back up. I get trying to work my way around him to get between him and the door, and I do so. And I left him there jumping up and down, flopping around. And I went out, and I told the guy at the counter, I said, "Don't let nobody go in that bathroom, especially kids." He called the police. The guy in there flipped out. I think he's on LSD. From what I heard about LSD when I was in the military, we had a little training on that. But what I really want to tell you was, another thing I really want to tell you, I'm sorry. We have a city of 25 to 26, 27,000 people. We have devoted in California. I was pointed out to me in the meeting on the other people's back on December 12th or something that the majority of the people in Riverbank voted no to allow marijuana in the state of California. I think that the vote you're looking for and what you were looking for tonight, I think that spoke for Riverbank. That should be recognized. We shouldn't even be here doing this. And I don't think that 5 people should vote yea or nay out of 27,000. I know we appointed you, but it's not right. But I know it's what's going to happen. But I'm here to speak my piece anyway. The security guards on these establishments should be Stanislaus County Sheriff's Department, and these establishments should pay their wages. It shouldn't be private guards. I'm wondering, are they armed? Are they going to be concealed weapons with permits? If so, that ain't legal. It should not be legal. Just because you have a license to carry don't mean that you should be able to guard a place like this. It's probably somebody like Pinkerton or something like you spoke of earlier. I'm sure it's someone like that. But I still think Stanislaus Sheriff's Department should be paid for guarding and be guarding this. The apartments over there is too close. They're within 30 feet of that place. There's 2 to 3 bedroom apartments above at the backyard of this place, and there's children and adults there. Those places are going to be vacant once this goes in. I'm sure. The house that borders it on the south side, there's only a redwood fence separating it. The 2 yards meet. And Modesto, I think it's got to be 100 yards between a residence or 200 yards and a business like this. We seem to just neglect that in Riverbank. It don't matter in Riverbank. That's why everybody comes to Riverbank to pitch a tent and everything else. I'd like to thank the Planning Commission, especially the one gentleman that voted no both times for Patterson Oakdale Road and us on 3rd Street. Thank you.
Any further public comment?
I watched the Annabelle Gammon, Riverbank, California. I watched the Planning Commission meeting on the application of, what's the name of this group now? What is the name of the applicant for this? Yes. And I was really surprised that the order of the meeting was a little bit interesting to me. First of all, I don't think the presentation of the applicants was part of the agenda item. I think that was a decision maybe of the staff. So people had to sit and listen to what was their plan. I was so intrigued by the presentation. I'm in the medical field, and the presentation was something that totally shocked me, that they're going to have color therapy, massage therapy, and have people coming here. I don't know. They did claim that they were certified, and I'm not putting anybody down. I'm just saying some of the things that were said in the presentation is misleading, and also I think should be carefully watched. There is no, I bill insurance, so I know that there's no insurance that's going to cover for color therapy. So I don't know what color therapy has, I don't even know the application of the color therapy that was being said. But I go back again to the council because I go with the guy that just spoke before me. Planning Commission voted majority no. They studied it. I was in the Planning Commission in the county, and we studied because we have to advise supervisors like your Planning Commission has advised you. But I came tonight knowing that the second reading for the flavors application was going to pass no matter what. I was told even by people who have been following Riverbank, like, why even go? They're going to vote for it. This is all about money. There's a safety issue here. And yes, I know the rules of CEQA. There's no change of the building, so it's not, you know, they don't have to do CEQA findings. However, just looking at the plan that Donna has presented here, there's going to be an expansion of the business. And so the parking and the traffic, that is environmental because the air is going to be polluted with more cars coming in. The circulation, you have very limited parking downtown. I come here and I have a handicap and it's hard for me to find parking. So I don't know how you're really going to allot the parking downtown. That's a problem. And then finally, I would like to ask the lawyer, Mr. Hallinan, a question. If this ordinance goes to first and then goes to second reading, what can the public do to appeal a second ordinance? Do we have 30 days?
Yes.
Yes.
I really can't give legal advice contrary
I'm
to
not.
the
I'm
city's
just
interest,
asking what
obviously.
there should be a rule about ordinance and the appeal process.
It's like, I'll say it's just like any other
Okay.
ordinance, yes.
And so when public realizes that there have been some issues with even just noticing, I have asked the staff for the noticing, for the list of the staff of the residences that were noticed. I haven't gotten it yet because according to Annabelle, I have to write a letter to ask for a list under CPRC.
30
Isn't that
seconds.
correct? So I would like to know, really, I have said here now 3 times that I think that the first application, which is, I'm out of line here, it's not illegal because you did not send enough letters out. That's my opinion. Thank you.
This is a public hearing. Any further public comment?
This is just for the appeal, and okay, because I have a lot of questions on the development, a lot of problems with the development agreement, which is one of the reasons why I'm opposing this, that you do this appeal, accept this appeal. In the marijuana ordinance that you enacted, there's a section on there for appeals, and that section says that the appeal shall be filed with the city clerk's office, and that it shall specify the grounds for the appeal. I will remind you that you only gave us 5 days to ask questions or go down and look for files because the rest of the time this place was closed. I went down next door to Planning Commission, pulled a file, very little in it. I asked for a copy of the appeal. It was in the Planning Commission, the Planning Director's Office. What I got was planning application with a statement at the bottom saying that it is an appeal of the denial of the use permit. It does not say have any grounds on it. There's nowhere indicated in here that it was ever filed with the city clerk, or there was ever a fee, which also was required. So I really question whether this is even an adequate appeal. And like I said, it was done when this city was closed. The city clerk was out of the office for a while at a conference. So I really question what, I mean, I know you're not following your marijuana ordinance, because that's pretty obvious. The other reason why I'm opposed to this is because since the planning commission meeting, and even at the planning commission, because I was there have been, it's either there have been changes in this development agreement, or they were there and you never bothered to tell the public. And I strenuously are upset that the fact that you are making changes, or these, of what's going on, that we were never told about. But I can't discuss that until your next step. But that's why I think you need to know what's going on with the development agreement before you decide on this one. The planning commission did it opposite. So this is kind of reverse of the way they did it. But the appeal process was not followed according to your ordinance.
Any further public comment?
Try to make this short. My name's Shauna Wilson. I reside here in Riverbank, actually just right around the corner on Topeka. I'm an educator, so when you ask, where have I been? You're educators yourself, or have been. You've actually, two of you have taught my younger sisters in school, and I spend 10 to 12 hours every day with 150 honor science students and leadership students at a local junior high. So where have I been? Sitting on my couch grading honors essays, lesson planning, working with students in our community to make this a better place. I strive every single day to make sure that these kids know right from wrong, the right steps to take. I know that marijuana, you know, this is something our state has decided. Federally, it's still illegal. And as Attorney General Sessions has pointed out, they have free reign to come in and do what they want and enforce federal law. That's something that we are going to have to deal with and may become a target. I think that marijuana should be in commercial or industrial areas and not blocks from my house where community events occur every single day. I walk my dog, I see the people selling marijuana in the park and sleeping in their tents and using the bathroom. I see the older residents out fixing their lawns. I appreciate that the neighborhood in the last 5 years since I bought my house that has appreciated and that we have actually dealt with some of the blight in my neighborhood. I'd like for it to continue. So I urge you to, not to mention the lack of a stop sign on Topeka and 3rd Street. We will have a lot of traffic that's traveling north and south here on 3rd Street, and that is a major concern of mine, having to go to work, having to not being able to turn on to Atchison, left or right, and I travel to Modesto to do my work. This is an intersection of concern, and I know that traveling south here on 3rd Street will be affected with the 2-lane road. It's one of my concerns. Yes, we have to deal with it. Yes, we have to be proactive. And I do, as my public, you guys are my elected public officials, and I trust that you make an informed decision, but please consider I'm a young professional. I bought in this neighborhood because of the quality of people that live here and the quality of businesses, and I'd like to keep it that way. So I do trust your guidance, but the Planning Commission has also set forth their recommendation and denied it. Please at least give that some credence. Thank you.
My name is Arthur Hidalgo. I'm a resident of Riverbank. I was at the city planning commissioners meeting, and I must say I really admire everybody that's on our planning commissioner. They took the time to sit down and listen to everybody that talked. They gave us more information than you guys did. You know, I keep hearing over and over that we sat around and we did nothing, but we have asked questions and you guys haven't answered them. We learned more at the planning commission meeting as far as how many dispensaries you guys wanted to put into Riverbank. You're growing yards, whatever you want to call them. And it just amazed me, all the stuff that I feel like you guys are, you don't even want to talk about it. It's all quiet. I'm just saddened. I just can't believe that it's come to this. But getting back to the meeting on the planning commission, there were a lot of good things that were brought up. They brought up the fact that we have our wine and cheese festival right here in our downtown on the same street that you guys want to put another cannabis dispensary. And I'm just having a really hard time believing that you guys would do this to the city, to all of us. Why do you guys want to do this to us? I just don't understand it. What happened to our morals? You know, the gentleman that did the other dispensary that you guys passed, I had a meeting with him. And he sat down and he told me that I owed our mayor, Richard O'Brien, an apology because I attacked them last time, because I did. I met with them. A good friend of mine has an energy drink, 5150 energy drink, Carlos Vallejo. Awesome young man. All the proceeds go with that go to autism. I approached O'Brien's Market. I wanted to sell it there. I had a meeting twice with Bill. Then he said he had to meet with the rest of them. One of them was Richard O'Brien. He's going to deny it, but he was one of them. And they said they could not sell a 5150 energy drink in their store because it went against their morals. And now to stand here and have to defend this, what happened to our morals? He said you were this great Navy guy that stood up for all these. I wish that was the guy that was sitting in that seat right now. The guy that he was describing to me, I wish was sitting in that seat right now, because he's not there. I got 3 little girls, 9, 5, and 3, that I was looking forward to raising in the city of Riverbank. I talk to all the police officers that I work with, and each one of them tells me that this is not a good thing. I brought in the stats for the planning commission. I showed it to them from Washington and Colorado. This is not good. But you guys don't seem to want to listen. All you guys are seeing is the revenue that you think is going to be coming in. Your nephew, I sat down, I talked to him. His store, he says he can't even sit in his office because the smell is so bad. He can't stand to be in it. He was going to come tonight and talk, but he couldn't. And I'm not going to sit here and blame every person, because I talked to a lot of people, and I got to be honest, I'm disappointed with my fellow, because there's nobody here to support this, and this is just a bad thing all the way around. All my eminent officers that I've talked to, they tell me all kinds of bad things. Everything that's being done in Modesto, in the places that you guys are talking about, is out of the city limits, and they're not doing it under the city codes. They're doing it under the county codes, so that Modesto PD can't even interfere to do anything. They got to call the sheriff. So is that what you guys want to happen here? Our local law can't even touch them? So I don't understand why. The other gentleman, when we were talking last week, got up at the end and wanted everybody to know that this was not
30 seconds, I'm sorry.
This was not about marijuana being legal, or that it is legal and can be sold here, because we're talking about they ran other businesses out of this fine town. One of the gentlemen brought up with our old council and wouldn't let them come in here. And then he said, you know, he pleaded, and now you're going to bring this right here and actually sell the actual product. And I just can't believe that you guys are going to sit here and just disobey everything that they said, everything that they stand for, everything that we stand for. And I know you're going to do whatever you want to do. And I don't know how to do this any more than to beg you, please.
Thank you. Any further public comment?
May I ask a question?
Sure.
There was some dispute about the.
You have to go up here and just state your name again.
Okay. It's in regards to the previous thing, though. So.
No, it has to be this.
Okay. I do have a question, though, about the previous.
We'll have to talk about it offline.
Okay.
We've already passed that.
Okay. That's what I wanted to know. Thank you.
Seeing none, I bring it back to the city council, closing the public comment.
In the back, I didn't get to step.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Thank you. My name is Leticia Lopez Hidalgo. I'm a City of Riverbank resident. I've lived here for over 30 years. You know, we keep going back to where was everybody several months ago. Several months ago, I think we can honestly say we didn't know. As we've become more aware, we've shared with other neighbors, other residents about what is happening. And as you can see, there's a support here. There's more people here. Each session that I've been here, this is my third time being here, and each time the group has grown. So I think we can honestly say, now that we know, we are here, and we're here to voice our concern. You know, a lot of us, like the previous speakers have stated, that they have other responsibilities. I'm a mother. I have 3 children. I've brought them all here. You know, to me, education is very important, but tonight we're going to be behind on homework. I miss school events. I miss church functions. I miss family functions to be here, just because I feel this is a very important matter. And so I think we need to move forward from where were you guys several months ago to let's deal with today where we are here. And I hope that you would listen to everybody's concern. It was mentioned about the Attorney General's sessions being not in support of the marijuana and wanting the federal government to enforce it. He's a very knowledgeable and educated man in his position. If he sees an issue with it, we should take that into consideration. There's other dispensaries, it was mentioned before, within 5 miles. 5 miles is not very far for anybody to travel who has the need for the marijuana. I don't think we need anything closer than the 5 miles that it's already pretty close to our location. Also is mentioned about the security being trained in law enforcement and also in previous Navy SEAL. I read an article in the San Diego News about the security and how they have to be highly trained due to the cash flow in the facilities. So these security guards are having to go into the neighborhoods 3 blocks away to make sure that there isn't anybody casing the establishments in an attempt to rob them. Do we really want that in our neighborhood, that they have to go in each resident area to make sure that the same cars are there, the same people are there, because there's other people who may be looking to go and to rob someone, to rob the people that have been in those establishments, or to rob the facility itself. Also, you know, this is going to be a massage parlor. I believe the last massage parlor resulted in some kind of prostitution ring last time. And then as far as marijuana, it may be legal, but it's just like gun control, where it's only those that follow the rules that we can control the guns. The sale of marijuana will continue regardless of these distributions or parlors or these facilities. It will continue and they will be sold. And most likely those that have the means will go to the other more high-end establishments. However, those that don't have the means to frequent those facilities will still result in the black market. You will not be able to do away with it. We're just allowing these people to come into our community, to take control of our community, and you know, hopefully the property values don't go down or people decide to leave and go elsewhere because of these type of establishments coming here. It's a small community. Again, every job, every employment place matters. Every person, every resident here matters. Let's take everything into consideration to make sure that we're doing the best for our community, for our children, for our children's future, and to show that we do care, we have morals and ethics, and we're not just concerned about revenue coming in, but we're concerned about the quality of life and the future of everybody here. Thank you.
Any further public comment? Seeing none, I close public comment. Is Mr. White still here? First topic is the Planning Commission. We had the Planning Commission, if I saw the tape correctly, was trying to discern whether or not dispensaries were legal.
That was my interpretation of a lot
And
of the
that
conversation.
dispensaries are legal in the city of Riverbank.
Correct. The city council had already made that decision to be
Okay.
able to allow.
So
dispensaries.
the individuals, a couple of them were opposed to it because of believing that they could say dispensaries weren't legal.
Correct, and I would say at least one of them, their decision was predicated on a general opposition to marijuana, period.
Okay. Before we go to the next step, if there was changes, and I need you to address those that was brought up there in this last comment, but that'll be brought up in the next one if this goes forward.
Yep.
Sometimes it's very difficult to do the right thing, whether it appears to be wrong or not. Sometimes it's very difficult to say, let's take control of a dangerous situation, which is marijuana being sold illegally to our kids. And yes, they are to the kids. Again, we believe we are, for those of you who didn't hear what we said the last time when we were up here, I did mention the grow facility. I did mention 2 dispensaries. That's all we're entertaining right now. There are 7 other applicants which we're putting a moratorium on. Okay, as we move forward, we need to revisit the whole subject with a lot more input than what we got, and we're looking forward to that. Because you're trying to control a dangerous situation doesn't make you immoral. And that's what we're trying to do. Does staff have any comments on any of the comments made by the public?
Whoops. Let's see, I would just like to address that the appeal process was not followed. The day after the Planning Commission made their decision, we did receive an application for an appeal from this applicant, and we did charge them the fee for processing this appeal. And the moment that I got it, I scanned it and I sent it to our city clerk, and she accepted it into the appeal process.
So the appeal was proper?
Correct.
Any comments from the council?
You answered my question.
Thank you.
As I've said before, I have concerns of this type of business downtown due to parking. I just don't think that it can take, downtown can take the parking.
And how many customers think they'll have an hour?
Well, I don't think it's so much, well, they get a lot an hour, anywhere from 50 to 200.
Whoa, you know,
And it-
O'Brien's only gets about 900 a day.
Well, the ones that we visited, they
Not-
had a
No.
lot of
Not
active.
this one.
No, they
Not
only
this one.
have a few at a time.
Oh, okay.
The
So
one
it's a
that
smaller
we
one?
visited, that they're
That's was their
modeling,
parent company.
they had fewer parking places than here.
We're in a
I own a
residence.
business across the street, and I don't, at this point, have any issues with parking. And I don't foresee any issues with parking.
Oh,
Maybe I'll be mistaken.
I would
If
think
they
that
get
there would be
200, if they get 200 an hour, they're moving.
And my thing is I have a business that is on 2 sides of the street, and if parking's an issue, we have a lot behind my building. So I own a business down here, and I'm not concerned about parking.
Okay, then I guess I'm mistaken.
No, you're not mistaken. You can, I just wanted to say that.
Okay. Any further comment? Recommendation?
I'll make a recommendation that we approve the appeal for this use permit.
I second.
Motion to approve the appeal and a second.
Councilmembers Fosse,
No.
Barbara Martinez,
Yes.
Campbell,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Jones Cruz,
Yes.
Mayor O'Brien.
Yes.
Motion passes 4-1.
On item 5.2, the first reading by title only and introduction of a proposed ordinance approving development agreement 02-2017 by and between the City of Riverbank and Family and Friends Association, Inc., doing business as Riverbank Cannabis Collective, a California cooperative corporation, and a commercial cannabis dispensary. Before we move on, you had questions on that? On the second part?
Yeah, on the development agreement.
Okay, you have already mentioned those. Could you address those during your presentation?
Okay. Get back to my notes so I recall what she had stated there. Okay, this item is the development agreement, now that the appeal has been approved. The major DA elements, and first of all, for those who don't know what a development agreement is, it's a contractual obligation that the business is taking on freely in order to operate in the city of Riverbank. As far as changes, when the Planning Commission heard this, the applicant had agreed to a 3-year term, and now it's been extended to a 5-year term. And there is something else I'll bring up in just a moment. Okay, so she asked about the fee, the application for the appeal, and changes to the DA. Okay, so the DA also states that a conditional use permit is required, and then they can use both, or they can do both medicinal and adult use cannabis. Okay, another of the major elements is a public benefit towards infrastructure, services, and neighborhood burdens. So the term would be, okay, so I didn't change this part. So 1 to 6 months is 5,000 or 6% of the gross receipts. The Planning Commission had heard that it was 10,000 or 4% of the gross receipts. The 7 to 12 months is 7,500 or the 6% of the gross receipts. The Planning Commission had heard 15,000 or 4% of the gross receipts, whichever is greater. And then that should be 13 to 72 months, but the Planning Commission did
Donna,
hear.
no, that's
No?
incorrect. So that's accurate. It's a 3-year term. We've confirmed that with the city attorney just before the meeting.
Okay, then I was out of the loop, sorry. Okay, so then that's 36 months, 9,000 or 6% of the gross receipts. The reason why the numbers aren't as large as Flavors is because they are expecting only 50 to 100 people a day, not the turnover that Flavors is going to be seeing out there on that side of town. So these numbers have changed after some more negotiations with attorneys. The DA findings, in order to approve a DA, that it must be found to be consistent with the general plan. It must not be detrimental to health, safety, and general welfare, not affect the orderly development or property values, consistent with government code that regulates development agreements, and contains a legal description of the property, which we have from the property owner. So any development agreement and/or use permit concerning regulation of cannabis activity, our city should be safe and healthy for our residents, and we believe that by regulating that, we do make it a safer place for them. So the recommendation was to conduct a public hearing, introduce the ordinance, and consider its approval. And I would, that's okay, it just goes to a question, if you have any questions.
I have a couple of conditions which I know by state law you can operate or have paraphernalia, advertisement at fairs, farmers markets, all the others. There's two things that I think that we should consider is not being open for business during the cheese and wine and also during the Christmas parade. If that would be acceptable.
So just for, I think the premise of the idea is fine and extremely legally enforceable. I would encourage us to set a time limit before and afterwards so that it's we're very specific from an enforcement perspective of when they needed to cease operating and when they would be able to reopen so that we don't leave it ambiguous.
Okay, it's the second weekend of.
I don't need the days. I would say, like,
second
for instance,
weekend
like
of October for each year, Saturday and Sunday, and the first Saturday after Thanksgiving from noon to 12 p.m. to 9 p.m.
So as these things may evolve and change, may I suggest like 2 hours before and 2 hours after the posted time with the city that they would not be able to operate.
Okay.
And I'll get those, if it's council's intention to approve this, I'll get those dates specific to Doug so that he can include them in the contract.
For further clarification purposes, we do not have the legal ability to prevent them from advertising or
No, we do
letting
not.
them know. So
That's by state law.
That's it's a First Amendment right that even for a business not recognized by the federal government, that would be unconstitutional. So.
I'd like to ask what the hours would be for this dispensary if this is open during the day. What hours would you be open? Does anybody know that?
Donna?
9 to 9.
Okay.
Sorry, I thought I could find it right away. The applicant is here, so we could find out the exact. There she goes.
Hello. For the first 6 months, we'll be open from 12 p.m. to 9 p.m. And then after that, if we're busy enough, then we would be open from 9 a.m. to 9 p.m. And those are just the hours that we applied for a conditional use permit. So those would be our legal hours. But we can make less hours if we're slower, which we anticipate to be slower in the beginning.
I have another question for you, too. Let me phrase this right.
Would you like to provide your name?
Yes,
for the
absolutely.
clerk?
My name is Kimberly Cargile, and I sit on the board of directors for FFA Inc., or Riverbank Cannabis Collective.
I just forgot my question. It'll come back.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. This time I'm going to open it for public comment.
My name is Evelyn Halbert, and I'm a 50-plus year resident of downtown.
Can you pull that microphone closer to you?
Is that
Thank you.
better?
Yes, sir. Yes.
Okay. Just for a matter of correction, your development agreement on your on Part O, Planning Commission did not okay this. Okay, there are 3 issues now. If you look at the one you just approved for Flavors and their development agreement, you were strict with them. And like I've heard many times up here, you're not even gonna know they're there. They're gonna come in, they're gonna get their stuff, they're gonna leave, there's gonna be no signs, yada, yada, yada. Now we come downtown. Oh, they're gonna have big signs all over the place on their windows. If you see their 9-page signage thing that they, in their file to Planning Commission of all the signs that they're gonna put on the windows and stuff for cannabis, everybody's gonna know they're there. The signage and they're gonna have these extra curricular activities, therapies of some kind, which you're not gonna know what's going on in there because it's not even in the development agreement that they're even having therapies. This wasn't even part of, when it was brought to the Planning Commission, it wasn't there. The public wasn't even told about it. The plans, I asked for the plans. They weren't available, even when I went in there. And the only plan that we were given was the one that was on the Planning Commission agenda. City clerk found one from the plans that are being approved now and sent me a copy late yesterday. It doesn't say room and room, it says therapy and therapy. But we weren't told that. That was what, withheld? Apparently, they already knew about it, but it was withheld. I mean, if they're so above board and honest, why aren't we getting this information? Why aren't we being told what's really gonna go on? Why is signage down here, not out there? Doesn't the whole town get the same rules, get the same, nobody has signage, nobody, if you did, what are you doing putting a thing out there and telling them come downtown and you can have all the signs you want and you can have other activities in there, like the one going in the bar, or you gotta have 50% off because Flavors is paying 10% a month, 10,000 a month, but they're only paying 5,000. That wasn't on the Planning Commission either when it went to the Planning Commission. That was a change, but nobody seems to want to give out any information as to why. I think the public's entitled to that too, because that was not there when the Planning Commission heard it. You're treating, it looks like, I'm not saying you are, but it looks like you're treating one part of town different than another when the whole town should be treated the same. You've heard them all over the town. Nobody wants this stuff. But you shouldn't. And I really object to this therapy and these extracurricular activities in there that you don't even gonna know what they're doing. And the so-called masseuses. As far, on the secret part of it, I know you have lists and stuff on here. I don't know, it says that you're determining that it's not detrimental to health, safety, and welfare, it's not adversely affecting public health. But there's nothing in here that backs up how you determined that. There's no studies, there's nothing that says how you determined that, it's just words. And as far as the last one that says that this city, this development agreement shall contain a legal description of the property, it wasn't there when it went to the Planning Commission, I asked for it. And it's still not there now. And like I said, with only 5 days between Planning Commission now, she had to get out of the agenda. Nobody had time, as much as Annabelle did a good job getting me what she did get me, but nobody had time to talk to us. I'm not the only one that was asking for rec documents and stuff in 5 days. The other issue I have with this thing is on just what they call letter of intent. Letter of intent or the lease on it that is signed by, that has 2 owners listed on it. And as I said at the Planning Commission meeting, and I'll tell you now, I looked at the folder records from Stanislaus County Assessor. They list 4 owners, and each owner owns 25%. And I've heard you say, and I believe it's in your ordinance, that if there's more than one owner, they all have to agree to this. So where's the agreement to the other 2 owners? And if you read this letter of intent down at the bottom, the property owner, which is the one, these 2 up here, even state that they're only responsible to pay half of the property taxes and half of the fire insurance assessment. That means these other two property owners, whoever they are, must be paying the other half. Why aren't they on here? Why are only two of them agreeing to this? That's another question I never got answered from the planning commission meeting. But I really don't see how you can approve this development agreement when there's information here that's never been made to the public until now.
Hello, I'm Jennifer Miyakawa. I'm resident of Riverbank, also on the Sylvan Union School Board as a trustee, and I seem to knock out the mic every time I get up there.
That's not intentional. I can tell you.
Okay, I won't take it personal. I do have a follow-up question on this. You mentioned, and just in defense of those of us who were unaware or unable to attend in the past, you mentioned that this was intended to be a pilot program. My question is, why are we doing 2 dispensaries as a pilot program instead of just one? And weighing the cost-benefit analysis, how this plays out in our schools, how this plays out in our neighborhood, and all the other concerns that have been raised. Why are we doing 2?
That'll be answered after public comment.
Okay.
I could give a name again, an address.
Please.
Pascal Moore, 3200 block, Stanislaus Street. I've heard this twice now, and it really rings a bell now to me about 4 owners, and you're showing 2, and they're saying 4. You know me, I knock on doors. And I checked with all the business owners within 3 blocks of here, sometime back. And they always tell me about 2 gentlemen that come and seen them that said that they are opening this cannabis house on 3rd Street. And I said, you mean you didn't talk to some ladies? Because that's who I've been seeing. And they said, no, it's 2 men. I said, wearing suits and ties? He said, yes. So I guess that must be the other 2 there. And so I believe there is 4 owners. And since she's mentioned that twice, 2 different times here, 2 different nights, I believe there is 4 owners. Maybe you should check into that. I don't know. But this place is going, if you pass this place is going to see a lot of traffic and a lot of action because everybody is going to come to 3rd Street because they don't want to be seen out there. You're going to have people from Oakdale, Modesto, and Empire coming to Riverbank, period. They don't care where they go. But people that don't want to be seen out there are going to shop here. But no one from Riverbank is going to shop here. They're going to shop in Modesto and Oakdale and Houston and Empire. They're not going to shop here. They don't want to be seen going in there. Just like them people don't be seen going in here. And I'm afraid you are inviting a new type of drug dealer because I don't do drugs, but I can go in their cannabis shop and I could purchase their merchandise. And then I could sell it to people that don't want to be seen going into those places. That's a new style of drug dealer. And that's going to happen because some people's got more money than brains. Thank you.
This is a public hearing.
Annabelle Gammon, Riverbank, California. This is really getting very tiresome for me. But I do have a question, and I'm very concerned. I was a planning commissioner for 8 years, and I know that when things are changed after a commission votes on it, it has to go back to that commission. It sounds like to me, and maybe I'm wrong, and maybe you have different rules in Riverbank, that after you change, there's an appeal, it goes back to the planning commission for them to discuss, especially with all your new changes. I think that's what's proper. So I don't know why we are stepping on an accelerator here. This is really a city of action, and it's going to be a city of pot, which is your right as you sit down there. But I want to say, when you up there tell us that you don't want to discriminate on the applicants, well, why are you there turning a very deaf ear to the public? We are stakeholders here. We have the right to have a comment and be respected. I don't get any answers, and when I make a comment, it's just like, just let it go. It doesn't work like that in good government. You really need to start thinking about that. So my question is, does this have to go back to the Planning Commission to be voted on before it comes back and you just okay everything? Number two, I feel like since Vice Mayor Cruz has a business across the street, that she definitely has a conflict of interest, and please correct me if she doesn't.
Let's go until the comments are done.
Is that serious? We have to wait till the comments are done?
Please continue.
So,
This is a public hearing.
I know. So anyway, I would like to know if there's a conflict here and whether this meeting has really been in order in the process it has gone through. This has to stop, guys, you know, because it's not gonna go on. Thank you.
My name is Herman Chavez, 6609 3rd Street. I'm the owner of the property. I just wanted to clarify that the ownership, it's my wife and I, my daughter and her husband. That's it. We just gave half to them. And everything is clean. We try to help the city controlling, regulating everything because we know it's here. And we've had a business here before. We know the area. We just want to start doing something about it. Just trying to start a clean start and adding something to the community with the control and regulations. Thank
you. Good evening. If we're not doing a presentation, I can do a few comments now, or should I wait?
Just like anyone else. You
Okay,
have 5 minutes.
great. So, good evening. My name is Kimberly Cargile. I sit on the board of directors for FFA Inc., or Riverbank Cannabis Collective. I never in a million years thought I would be a medical cannabis patients' rights advocate. I was homeschooled in a conservative Christian family, and my father was a judge. But as I studied natural medicine for the last 20 years, I have found that this is a legitimate alternative medicine, and there are thousands of studies from the National Institute of Health, which is the federal government's board that regulates all research. You can go to the National Institute of Health's website and type in cannabinoid research to find research that shows that this is a legitimate medicine. Our current dispensary in Sacramento is in the nicest neighborhood of Sacramento, East Sacramento, the fabulous 40s. We've been there for 10 years without one incidence of crime. I've been in this industry for 15 years without one incidence of crime. We're across the street from a school, about 50 feet from McKinley Park, which is the nicest park in Sacramento. There's a church right behind us, residents behind us, and it was our neighbors who talked us into staying in the neighborhood. We have over 20 letters of recommendation from our neighbors, including the school across the street. We have letters of recommendations from senators, from assembly members, from colleges, from city council members. We have proven over the last 10 years that we have made a positive impact on our community through education and outreach. And I understand that a lot of the citizens here in Riverbank have been miseducated and are approaching this subject with fear, which is completely understandable. I want to be a place where the citizens can come and get information and get access to legitimate research and legitimate education on this issue. I want to approach our citizens with compassion and teach them about different alternative therapies like sound therapy and massage therapy and yoga and Reiki. I've been a yoga instructor for 20 years, a personal fitness trainer, and a Reiki practitioner. And there is also a lot of research on various alternative medicines. The reason why we provide this for free to our patients is because it's not covered by insurance. It's starting to now. Acupuncture, chiropractic, massage therapy is starting to become covered just in the last 5 years or so as education on these alternative medicines expands. So we know this is a challenge to come into this conservative community, but we are here for the challenge. We are here to provide a positive impact on our community and to provide a legitimate alternative medicine for the citizens here that really need it. And you can go to our website, the citizens here in Riverbank, to watch a short little video about who we are and what we do and why we do it, because a picture is really worth 1,000 words. And if anyone wants to come visit us in Sacramento, they can contact us to see what we do. Because I know it's a scary thing, and the ideas that are out there and that are in people's heads are not the reality of what we're doing. Thank you.
Thank you.
Gonzalo Velasco, 3200 Santa Fe. That's awesome what she just said. And if that's the case, why are we closing this place on the Wine Cheese Festival for? Why are we closing it when the Christmas festival goes on? This is awesome. I mean, we should be open 24 hours a day. And not close ever. I'm not against medical marijuana use. I'm all for it. I'm against the use of marijuana for smoking and promoting. If these guys are going to sell just medical marijuana, I'm all for it. And I hope the city council is with me on this one and goes and votes, yes, let's do it, but not sell marijuana for recreational purposes, because that does not help anyone. It just promotes a stupidity. And we don't want a stupid town. We want to make America great again, right? That's what we want to do. We don't want to dumb it down. Okay? That's all I have to say. Thank you.
Good evening. My name's Deanna Garcia, and I'm the Director, CEO of FFA, Riverbank Cannabis Collective Wellness. And I'm a mother of 5, been married since I was 18 years old. My father was a pastor of an apostolic church. We were raised with morals and values, and I raised my children with morals and values as I've relocated them here to Riverbank to be a community member. And I wanted to address the gentleman who just spoke about recreational. As I've been working at a therapeutic alternative for several years now, we go into different communities, and a lot of the communities we go into are elderly communities and retirement communities, and we ask the people there in those communities, how come they're on pharmaceuticals, and how many pharmaceuticals are they on, and what are the negative impacts and effects that the pharmaceuticals are doing to them. And they explain horrendous amounts of medications and side effects that happen because of the medication. And we asked them about medical cannabis and why they wouldn't alternatively start switching over to medical cannabis. And they all state the same reason. We do not want to go to a doctor. We do not want anybody to know we're using medical cannabis. If we so choose to use it, it would be our choice, and we shouldn't have to register with the state or the city or a doctor or anybody as anybody who wants to know our business. Elderly people are very confidential in what they do and what they put into their body and how they run their life. And started to listen to that. And then I watched my father pass away of cancer. My father was a preacher, and we tried to take him medical cannabis. And he said, I do not want anything to do with the cannabis. I don't have a doctor's recommendation for it. Therefore, I should not have it. And we watched my father suffer until he passed away of stomach cancer. And while he was sleeping, we would rub some cannabis cream on his muscles and his legs. And he would brag to the church members when they would come to see him of how well that massage felt and how good he felt. And never dare would we tell him it was cannabis that we were rubbing on him, because we wouldn't want to hurt his pride or make him feel ashamed of what he had done or what we had done to him while he rested. But cannabis is a healing ointment, a healing plant, and people who use it recreationally are people who are giving therapy to their self and healing their self, and don't necessarily want others to know their personal business. So when we first signed up for the cannabis dispensary here in Riverbank, we said medical only would be fine. And the more we thought about the people who need it and the reasons why they don't want to sign up as a medical patient, that's why we changed our mind and decided to also go to recreational to offer this medicine to those who might not want others to know that they're using cannabis. And the other thing I would like to add is that we are right next to the city council. We are right next to the Chamber of Commerce. We are right across the street from the vice mayor's office business. We are on the same street as the police department and the sheriff department. We're not going to do anything to make ourselves look like fools or jeopardize ourselves or our business or our livelihoods or anything is to bring shame to ourselves or to the city. And that's all I wanted to say.
Any further public comment?
My name's Jody Smith, and I've been a member or a resident of Riverbank for about 20 years. And I guess my question is, we're kind of going into, a new area. We've had medical marijuana for some time, and now we're going into recreational. And I've understood from some other areas where they have had medical dispensaries that, they're nondescript, they're very unobtrusive. You don't see, you don't know what they are unless you look up, online what the business is. And then I heard this person talk on the radio today, and he said now after January 1, all of a sudden there was so much traffic there. They had to bring out pylons to direct traffic, and I just want to know what the plan is if the traffic is way, more overwhelming than you guys had planned, because, this is a big deal now that everybody can use it for recreational purposes. And that's all I had to say.
Any further public comment?
Hi, my name is Danielle Gravel, and I am the CFO and director of Riverbank Cannabis Collective. I, like Kimberly, never thought I would be standing in front of you talking about opening a dispensary. I am from a conservative Christian family as well. My father was a Marine, and my mother was a strong advocate of just say no. I didn't try cannabis until I was 27 years old. I tried cannabis recreationally for medicinal problems. I didn't live in a medical state. It didn't exist. I hadn't considered it. And had I not had that recreational access, I probably wouldn't be standing in front of you today. I was a very sick individual with many medical problems, and I was on numerous prescriptions that weren't helping. They were exacerbating the condition. A lot of people like to bring up, well, it's a new recreational market. I'm proud to say that a therapeutic alternative was one of the first to have their license for recreational and medicinal. Of course, it brought challenges of crowds we'd not seen, but we managed the lines without disturbing our neighbors, without having any further issues or complaints. And what we noticed is a lot of the patients we kind of feared might come with recreational didn't come. What we noticed is a lot of baby boomers, a lot of people who didn't want to take their opiates, but they didn't want to talk to their doctor about getting a prescription. I spoke with a gentleman who's a former Navy member, and he had gotten into a car accident and destroyed his shoulder. He's on 3 Norcos a day. I don't know if you know what Norcos are, but that's basically synthetic heroin. He's functioning using this, and he wanted to try something that wasn't going to make him feel medically elevated or high. So we got him down a path of CBD. CBD is a non-psychoactive cannabinoid, which people can use to alleviate pain and inflammation. So he was a recreational user, by all means, searching out medical therapies. So as being a recreational user that became a medical user and now is standing here asking for you guys to allow us to provide the same education and the same safe access that we provide in Sacramento, I just really think it's important to allow people to make those decisions for themselves, just like they would to walk into CVS and buy a over-the-counter prescription. It's been absolutely tremendous in my life, and I hope that we can make a change here and change some hearts and minds, and you can see that we want to be a responsible part of the community. To clarify, I think there's some confusion. The building is owned by 4 people. The company is owned by 3. These 3 women right here, and that's it. And we work really hard every day to make sure that a therapeutic alternative is above reproach, and that we don't have incidents, and that we don't have to call the police, and that we don't have any kind of issues with our neighbors, because we want to be that gold star in the community. We want to be the dispensary that does it better than everybody else, and that's what we strive to do here in Riverbank.
Any further public comment? I close public comment. No. What, did we have one more? You've already spoken, I'm sorry. Only get one.
Okay.
Sorry. However, if we have questions for the owners or the operators, first off, Mr. Moore, the comments you've taken about people going around saying that they're looking for a dispensary, there's a whole bunch of people wanting to put a dispensary all over the city. We're putting a moratorium, and we have these 2 programs, distinctly different for the pilot ones for basically the recreational side. This is more for medicinal, therapeutic side, 2 distinct operations that are going on. I do have some serious questions for the attorneys. We had some comments that if there are changes, do we have to go back to the Planning Commission? If those changes are not necessary to go back to the Planning Commission, why not? The other one is the signage, conflict of interest. And if we have excessive traffic, if there is an excessive traffic, they would have to move, and we would be gladly help them move. If they have that much traffic that can't handle the downtown with that 20 spaces that are empty across the street from you, you'd be welcoming that. But you wouldn't have the capability of processing that. So
let me see if I can knock all these off, Mayor. As it relates to, let's just knock the conflict of interest question off right off the bat. As you know, I used to work at the Fair Political Practices Commission, and my partner, Steve Churchwell, was the former general counsel of the Fair Political Practices Commission. And we've reviewed this, and we don't see any conflict of interest issue that's arising. So we feel very confident in the ability to move forward with that. So that puts that issue at rest. As it relates to one thing that you didn't mention, Mayor, but I do want to address is the concept, since we made the original recommendation from a staff's perspective as to why to go to 2. We didn't want a monopoly to develop within the community. We thought that bad things can happen when only one person or one group of individuals allowed to do things. So it was our recommendation to the city that if you were going to allow it, that there be at least 2 operators, with the idea that if one person was acting bad, there would be somebody else who would be in a position to also have a vested interest in making sure that the city was aware of those problems, and not somebody who would use their business position to try to basically hold an unfair competitive advantage for all kinds of reasons. As it relates to, let's see, what was the other one? The lease, it's very common to have certain officers within a company be charged with having the ability or the signing authority, so we would not require those. We feel comfortable with the lease that we've been provided, and you have the owners here of the building themselves saying that they've executed and entered into this lease, so I feel confident in that issue. Changes to the ordinance since the Planning Commission. All the changes that were made were in the city's favor, meaning that there were some typos and some lesser amounts were represented in terms of the percentages that were to be paid on gross receipts to the city. You're only required to take things back to the Planning Commission if there are material changes, changes that only enhance or are not significant in nature or are typos. Those aren't required to go back to the Planning Commission, and the difference between 4% and 6% is not something that would all of a sudden warrant or require going back to the Planning Commission. So I think that addresses the changes. I'll go ahead and I'll look at my list, but
signage.
Oh, signage is.
Okay. So approval of a development agreement is not approving their signage. We ask for a concept of their signage to see what they intend to do. But according to our Chapter 120, let's see here, 120.10, Section 7, signage informing the public of a commercial cannabis business shall conform to the applicable zoning district requirements and include a green cross on it. So they still have to come to the city in order to get any signage, and we will review it per the downtown specific plan signage section.
May I ask what signage you have in Sacramento?
In Sacramento, we have our logo, and we anticipate doing the same thing here. We could bring up our logo. Danny, do you have the neighborhood packet?
It's very nondescript.
It is, yeah.
And I don't know how many visited. I know I had the opportunity to visit.
We all did.
Okay, we all visited at various times. And we were impressed with your operation and how low-keyed everything was. But we're also very impressed with the holistic approach that you take. Although you may think that it would be a good thing to have it 24 hours a day, we're not going to allow 24 hours a day. And during times of, since Governor Brown signed the bill, SB 92, I believe it was, on the 27th of June, where he said that there's now any cannabis can be a recreational. We'll take that recreational away during times of, the community activities downtown. So that is a discussion that you have to have with the city manager and the city attorney.
We're happy to do whatever you guys require of us. Thank you.
Can I ask you one quick question?
Sure.
There was a reference made by Mr. Moore about buying the materials and then taking them out and reselling them. But it's been, to my knowledge, your dispensary as well as the other dispensary on Patterson Road, you don't just, you limit how much you sell to each customer and keep track of it, correct?
We do. So all sales are tracked from seed to sale at this point through the state regulatory system, as well as we track it through our system. So if something was resold, number one, it's not cost effective. It's very expensive to buy from us, and there's no margin in there for upsale. But second, it would be tracked and traced through a track and trace system, so you would know where it came from. That's what the Chief of Police Association really lobbied hard for, and we advocated for and supported that because we want to make sure there is no resale or diversion also.
When is the date that that's permanently in place? I know right now there's a temporary stay until loose marijuana is flushed through the system.
July 1st or before.
July 1st?
Mhm.
Thank you.
So just for the council's and for the public's perspective, I'll do as best as I can with my small computer, but this is what the outdoor signage looks like. Just, can you see? I'll bring it back in a minute.
Okay, any other questions that we missed? He already answered that. Yes, he did. You asked about the appeal.
Yes.
Okay.
On the first, on the flavors, if we have reasons to find that there has been some criterion that's not, that makes it invalidated. I mean, everybody has a right to their opinion, and I have an opinion on this. I think that the noticing was inadequate, and I've made research, and I think I'm right on this.
So I think the question is, and this deals with the previous agenda item, I just want to make sure everybody here. So is a question regarding whether or not the noticing was correct on the item dealing with the other dispensary, which is Flavors, which just went and was approved for second reading. We clearly have a disagreement. We believe the noticing was meets or exceeds state legal requirements. Ms. Gammon is certainly entitled to her opinion. The ordinance won't take effect for 30 days. and so she can seek whatever legal remedies that she wants during that time. It's not clear that she would have standing to do anything, but that's a whole different issue.
I would just add too that the purpose of notice is to give the public an opportunity to be heard, and as evidenced by the last two meetings, we've had, council chambers filled and overflow room with people, so that's the legal basis for it in the first place.
So just to be very, very clear, because she just handed me, this is on part 2 of the information for filing a commercial cultivation or dispensary application with the city of Riverbank. It says it has a future submittals, and it has some guidance in terms of what would be allowed, and it allows you to go further. The importance of this is not part of the city's code. This is not part of state law. This is not even an internal requirement that has been followed or guided with. The legal requirements which come from state law have been exceeded, and so this is just the language that's in here that she's citing to is just more guidance in terms of anything. I mean, you're always allowed to exceed state law, but the issue is really whether or not you complied with state law, and so we met or exceeded that.
Any other questions we did not answer? What question did you have that we didn't answer?
There was a question about if our guards.
Oh, yeah, your guards. I'm sorry we missed that.
Sorry, I tried to get up the second time to address one of the gentleman's questions about the guards. They're not armed guards. They're there for protection of the patients and of the building itself, and just to keep things moving smoothly and to look over things. But just to make everybody aware that there will be no firearms on the premises.
Thank you.
I didn't want her to have to get up.
Right, no, go.
Okay. I think I know which one of Evelyn's we missed, and I didn't want her to have to get up. So she had asked about the floor plan. The floor plan that we ask for is a concept. We only have concepts going to Planning Commission. When the building owner starts looking at making modifications to that, you will see changes when it goes to building permit set and farther on, because once they start looking at the building, things don't always work like they did in their concepts. And so, yes, the concept plan didn't list these therapy rooms because they were still trying to figure out how to fit the space, yet try to get the application to us in a timely manner so they could move forward.
Okay. Let me add on to that. In addition to that, it may be that depending on what they end up offering, which they're under no obligation as part of this conditional use permit process or development agreement process to offer massage therapy or any kind of therapy or do anything other than cannabis-related businesses. They may be required to obtain additional conditional use permits from the city or things of that nature. So each of those will be looked at the time.
Okay.
I did have one other thing that I wanted to.
What was the question?
I asked why our flavors is paying $10,000
Okay.
impact there, they're only paying $5,000 impact. I'll get the information.
So myself and the city manager were the lead negotiators. I took the major lead in trying to negotiate these arrangements. One of the reasons that you have a different business model is a recognition of the fact that these are different business types and business models. One is predominantly the one that you have before you right now is largely medicinal based, and their business plan is predicated on largely serving a medical client, whether or not that medical client comes in with a recommendation or comes in through a recreational mode. That's their aim, that's their education, that's their business plan. There's a different business plan for flavors, and so it's a recognition of that component, and it's also a recognition of the differences in terms of where you would expect traffic volume and so on. So if you were to cut the same deal, we would expect it. But we figured that we could capture any kind of upside if we wound up being wrong by having them pay a higher, essentially gross receipts amount. So they would actually, they're actually disadvantaged if they and Flavors do equal business. They could be actually disadvantaged by 1 percentage point in terms of what they would be paying to the city, which I think goes to a second question that I just remembered that she asked, which is what would we do in the event that there wasn't enough parking or something of that nature. We have protections within the conditional use permit and the conditions that we put there, as well as a development agreement, to require them to either cap population counts or incentivize them essentially to move. In other words, we have frankly more control over this business than any other business I've ever regulated as an attorney operating in a city attorney capacity. So I feel very comfortable that if we do find or see that this is different than what we originally envisioned, we have safety mechanisms in place to make sure it either operates the way that it's supposed to, either by creating limits or in the alternative incentivizing them then to, by creating those limits, to find another place.
May I add just one thing? I asked the question about why one was getting more, paying more and less of our city manager when we talked about this and discussed that. And I think it should be brought to attention that the Flavors market, they're established business already, and they have a clientele. They've been in the local area for a number of years, operating in a dispensary out of Modesto for medical. And that made sense to me because these people are coming in from Sacramento brand new. They don't have any local following yet.
That's right. And just to provide some perspective to the public as well as to the council, I mean, I think the council's heard me say this before, but this isn't happening in a vacuum. This is not just something that's specific to Riverbank, nor is it, it's going on all across California. We represent Newman, which has chose not to go down this road, Patterson, Oakdale, and Ceres, which have, as well as Dixon and Sonora, which have all chose to go down this road. And I would say that the direction that this council is taking is in line with what everybody but Newman seems to be going. And even the cities that we don't represent, such as Modesto and the county, have all decided to go in this direction as well. I mean, I think you all know there was like 600 applications for cannabis-related business permits just in the county. And they expect to have somewhere around 15 different dispensary businesses operating, which could be essentially just right across the street from Riverbank. So this isn't happening in a vacuum. You're seeing pretty much almost every city within the state of California at some level consider it. And so I wanted to provide that perspective because what you're doing is frankly in line with what your colleagues are doing, even in this county.
One of the things we've always commented on that we don't believe this bubble's going to be lasting very long, and that you'll have flooded markets where you'll have a lot of the dispensaries going out. So we figure that, we anticipate that, not that we wish your business any ill, but we believe that as the market gets flooded, some will fall by the wayside.
What I can say is what we presented to council assumes that this is why we're treating this as one-time money. This is why we have shorter-term arrangements, and that's why we're operating with the pilot program. I will say that when you contrast that to states like Colorado, who have been in operation for some time now, you have a Republican senator who's basically said until Sessions resolves the marijuana issue that there will be no more judicial nominees that make it through the court system, and that's a Republican U.S. senator. And in addition to that, you have cities like Colorado Springs that initially did not go for it, that there's a series of articles that were, and studies done by the University of Denver, I believe it was, that have gone through the regret that they've had because of the impact that they've had to deal with without having the resources, while those around them had the resources to deal with some of the impacts. So those are all available for people to Google or find in the public information.
Any further questions from the council? Comments?
I just had one that I was saving for this one, and I had, the question was about property values, and although I don't have a crystal ball and can answer any questions about what property values will do, all I can say is me personally, I would rather see development over there at the old Riverbank Hotel site than what was there. And it was pretty horrendous. So, and then I think any development is better than none at all. And again, I feel really confident that we are able to have regulations that if this doesn't work out, we can go a different direction.
Go ahead.
We have already approved the first agreement, and I'm concerned that we're moving forward with the second one before we have time to let the first one settle, get in the business, and see how everything runs. I'd like to see us put this off for another 30, 60 days, see how that goes, make sure we have everything covered under our direct agreement, and that we know exactly what we're getting into. I'm concerned that we're moving too fast. That's my opinion.
Okay, I'd like to just ask the owners, if this is passed tonight, when do you think you would be opening your business?
It's not passed tonight. We have another reading and then.
Yeah, well,
takes
when it,
effect
when it
30
is
days
passed
after that.
on the second reading, but as it proceeds.
According to our lease with Mr. Chavez, we get our keys on February 1st, maybe a little later, depending on the construction, rehab that he's going through on the building right now. And then we figure it'll take us about 3 to 4 weeks after we get the keys to be able to open up.
So you're looking at probably, because of our second reading, maybe sometime late March, early April, something
Yes.
like that?
So,
Okay.
Councilmember Campbell, the next meeting, assuming, let's assume the council votes to approve the DA, the next meeting, if it's read and approved at that meeting, I believe that's the 24th?
23rd.
23rd. 30 days from that date
Okay.
is the
22nd
effective
of
approval. So
Okay.
it'll be 22nd of, February at the very earliest. Donna and I have talked a little bit about the, well, just Donna and my experience in general with many, many years of planning and building experience between us says that it's going to take a little longer than probably anyone realizes to get that building up to code. I think the property owner would even agree that it's going to take quite a bit of work.
Sean, I have another question of them. And Vice Mayor, she asked about property values. Well, you guys have been in business there for a while. What effect has it had on your property values?
She's a real estate agent. So what we've seen is it actually has in many cities improved property values, especially the property itself with a conditional use permit on the property. The value goes up. We have seen our neighborhood improve, whereas before we were there, it was an empty building with, transients living there, loitering and trash. And so with our added presence and our added patience coming to our business, it has made business better for the businesses around us. And we have not seen property values decline in the nicest neighborhood of Sacramento, East Sacramento, where we're located.
Thank you.
I have a question.
Go ahead.
Okay, you also stated you're across the street from a school. Have there been any concerns from the community about children, being influenced by the business being across the street?
That's an excellent question. We are across the street from a school, and we are right around the corner from an elementary school. So kids walk by us every day on their way home from school, and we have never in 10 years had one child knock on our door. We have never had a problem with any kind of children trying to get cannabis from us. Most people don't even know what we are or what we do. But we actually, before we were approved, we had to get approval of all of our neighbors and the school across the street where one of our city council members, who's now an assembly member's kids, go to school. And I myself didn't even know what they were going to say because of the stigma associated. However, we had operated for a few years before we went for our conditional use permit. That's the way Sacramento did it 10 years ago. They were still trying to figure this whole thing out back then. And by the time we went for our conditional use permit, We have a letter of recommendation from the school, and we have talked to the directors of the school and asked if this question ever comes up, can people contact you? So you could actually contact the directors of the school across the street and ask them if we are good neighbors, if we are providing security for them, if we, have made a positive impact in the community, and they would say absolutely.
Okay, I bring it here for a recommendation.
Make a recommendation that we accept item, can't see it here,
First reading.
first reading of item 5.2.
I second that motion.
Motion to approve the first reading by title only of item 5.2 and a second.
Council members Fosse,
No.
Barbara Martinez,
Yes.
Campbell,
Yes,
Vice Mayor Jones Cruz,
Yes.
Mayor O'Brien.
Yes,
Motion passes 4-1.
thank you. New business. Item 6.1, with the consideration of the council, would like to continue this to the next meeting, which is a facility use fee review for nonprofit groups.
Mayor, before you, if that's council's pleasure, I'd appreciate it, because our Parks and Rec director had a personal issue this evening, and we had to allow her the evening off, and I'd really like her for that conversation. But I would like to ask council, if it's okay, Mayor, those of you that have read the report, is there, I've talked with Councilmember Barbara Martinez about possibly doing a little more looking into this, and since we're going to have 2 more weeks, if there's anything in addition to if there's anything that's not part of this report that you'd like to see, that would be helpful for us so we can get to work on that.
And please provide your comments. I found it thorough, and it shows that if we reduce fees, we're going to increase the expenditures of the general fund, which we cannot do. I mean, we can, but we should not do. So, can I have a concurrence with item 6.1 continuance?
I make a motion that we continue item 6.1.
I'll second it.
Okay, and by consensus? Yes?
Yes.
Yes.
Motion passes 5-0.
All right. Item 6.2, the annual nomination and appointment of the vice mayor. We also need to take a look at some of the other appointments too, do we not?
Yeah, there'll be at least a couple more appointments at the next meeting.
Okay. All right. That works for me. So for the vice mayor, I'd like to nominate Councilmember Barbara Martinez as vice mayor.
I'll second it.
Council members Fosse, Barbara Martinez,
Yes.
Campbell,
Yes,
Vice Mayor Jones Cruz,
Yes.
Mayor O'Brien.
Yes,
Motion passes 5-0.
and thank you for your service for this last year, vice mayor. Now, council member. And welcome, vice mayor.
welcome back to the common people.
Okay, at this point, we go to item 7, staff reports.
Thank you, Mayor. Just one item, as council may have time now that the holidays are over. Diamond Bar West, which is a subdivision that's over on the east side of town, is now in full swing. It's been a very, very difficult project for a number of reasons. Primarily the rains of last year put construction off substantially. We now have roads and lighting at long last, and so those are really the last bits of infrastructure we needed before they could start putting up homes. So we, from a staff perspective, are really proud of the project. They are entry-level homes, and they're the kinds of homes that Riverbank really needs and is desperately behind on. And so I'd encourage any and all community and council member to go drive it, because we think it's representative of the quality that we like to see here. Thank you.
Just a comment on the Diamond Bar projects that are out there, and also any other future development coming on up. We have put in place a CFD which imposes a fee of almost $600 a year for police services in complete streets. That's above and beyond anywhere else in the city. And that's just to protect them as we move forward. That doesn't give any additional resources to what we already have. So that's why it's incumbent upon ourselves to either do fees like we have tonight with the cannabis, or we tax ourselves almost $600 a year, except for the county who wouldn't participate, into trying to maintain our police services. So we're not going that route. That's one of the reasons why I'm very pleased with Diamond Bar, Crossroads West, and also north of Patterson Road with the new development coming on up. So that should help with our police services in the future. Councilmember Fossey?
I don't really have any announcements. I just want to say Happy New Year to everybody, and I look forward to serving you during the next year. And I would love to hear from people. I'm on Facebook a lot. I'm on Riverbank Crossroads a lot. So if you have any comments, any questions, please feel free to find me and ask me questions through Facebook. I'm happy to answer those questions and make sure everybody knows those answers. Thank you.
Councilmember Campbell.
I
gotta
just-
figure who's ahead of each other.
I just like to thank the public for attending this. We have meetings every 2 weeks. You're welcome. I do enjoy, just like the rest of the council, hearing from you. We don't make up our minds just without listening. We listen well. And these decisions we make sometimes are not easy decisions. And our perspective is we're looking at the whole community and what's best for the whole community. And we try to do the best job that we can. And I want to thank everybody for coming tonight.
Councilmember Jones Cruz.
I just want to wish everyone a happy New Year and look forward to 2018. Thank you for coming tonight.
Thank you. I had, Vice Mayor, I'm sorry. Went out of order, didn't I?
Okay, last but not least, I just also want to say Happy New Year to everyone. And I look forward to working with my fellow council members and making decisions for our city. I also want to thank the nonprofits that were stepped up during the holiday season and actually made a difference in the community. There are a lot of volunteer efforts out there being done, and we could always use more volunteers. And then I think the mayor is going to tell you about our nonprofit meeting that's coming up. I want to mention that we also have Citizen of the Year nominations that are out there right now. The forms out there, and they're on our website, and also for Youth of the Year. So we need your nominations, and thank you.
Thank you. I attended the first ACE meeting of the year, and it's very telling that Alameda County does not want the riffraff from the Central Valley going on their trains and taking their seats across the way. So we have to be very diligent as we move ACE forward. We procured $400 million to extend the line from Manteca through Ceres, but they don't want those people taking their seats, which is a little disconcerting. Tracy specifically does not want us up there. So as we move forward, we have to be aware of their needs, but also be aware of vehicle miles traveled as we go forward. Thank you for reminding me on January 17th, we'll at 6:30, I believe it is at the community center, we'll have our annual nonprofits, service groups, and civic groups meeting to discuss the issues concerning those groups, as well as the homeless and other issues that they bring up. With that, we're going to go into closed session, which consists of item 8.1, employee performance evaluation pursuant to Government Code Section 54957, Title City Manager. Item 8.2, conference with labor negotiator pursuant to Government Code 54957.6, Agency Representative Sean Scully, City Manager. Employee Organization Miscellaneous Employees, Mid-Management Bargaining Unit. Item 8.3, Conference with Legal Counsel, Anticipated Litigation. Significant exposure to litigation pursuant to Subdivision Bravo of Government Code 54956.3, 3 potential cases. At this time, anyone may comment on any of these items prior to us going into closed session. Is there anyone wishing to comment on any of these items? If not, we adjourn to closed session. Yeah, on the 7th. Yeah. On the 7th.
John asked me to do
Thank you. The regular city council and LRA board for Tuesday, January 9th, 2018 is now back in session. Report from closed session, item 9.1. Report from closed session, item 8.1, public employee performance evaluation. City manager, direction has been provided to staff. Item 9.2, report from closed session, item 8.2, conference with labor negotiators, miscellaneous and mid-management bargaining units. Direction has been provided to staff. Item 9.3, report from closed session, item 8.3, conference with legal counsel, anticipated litigation, 3 potential cases. Direction has been provided to staff. At this point, we adjourn. Next council meeting will be January 3rd, 23rd at 6 p.m. Our meeting is now adjourned.